Alright, you and I are about to meet Aphrodite, the goddess of desire who instantly makes our main character cry from pure affection. But wait, because she's not happy, my friend. She's glaring at her husband Hephaestus, this short, 5'1" bald guy, complaining that he is drinking and forgot her order. But when she smiles at our main character, his knees go completely wobbly. Then this absolute goddess asks Hajin for a favor, asking him to fetch some celestial steel for her. Honestly, if she asked me like that, I would lose my mind. With that much attention, there is no way he can say no. So he grabs his helm and rides his scooter straight to the next dungeon. But how did he even end up as a divine delivery boy? Our guy used to be a typical, hard-working delivery boy, broke as hell. His daily routine involved climbing 27 flights of stairs because the elevator broke, only to get yelled at by angry customers. He wanted to yell back but had to swallow his pride. Then his boss calls claiming the last customer complained, even throwing the food in the toilet just to get a refund. Talk about a nightmare. He tried to explain what actually happened, but it was useless. He was officially blocked from getting any new orders. With his rent due next week, he was completely desperate. But right as he stands before a glowing dungeon portal, his phone lights up with a mysterious system message. A new delivery request is waiting. The screen looks completely different from his normal app. He taps it out of pure curiosity, and a blinding light teleports him straight to a place resembling heaven. He panics, wondering if he is dreaming or if some crazy awakening just happened. Nothing is guaranteed yet, but he is already tearing up, hoping his miserable days are finally behind him. That is when he notices his phone displaying an active order, complete with a map and instructions to retrieve nectar. With no other options, he accepts the job. He taps the screen, and the giant golden gates swing open. Gulping down his fear, he rides his scooter above the clouds, passing massive castles while checking his phone nervously. This is the realm of the gods. He stops before a massive door, realizing it is the pickup location. He knocks, hoping that meeting a god might finally unlock his path to becoming a hunter. The door swings open to reveal a stunning blonde woman in white. He instantly realizes she is a goddess. Stuttering, he explains that he is only there to pick up an order. Now, watch closely here, she steps up, demanding to know why a mortal is trespassing in Olympus. He frantically holds up his phone, explaining he is just here for the nectar, making her realize Hermes is behind this. Sighing, she tells him to wait while she fetches an item mortals should never handle. She hands over the nectar, warning him that her brother will be absolutely furious if he is late. Getting right in his face, she warns him not to take a single sip, and he nods frantically. She points at her eyes to show she is watching, then slams the door shut. Frustrated, he sighs. He thought he escaped his old life, but now he is delivering things for actual gods. Looking at the bottle, it just looks like juice, and he seriously contemplates quitting. But then he realizes the customer is another god. Since he is already here, maybe he can convince this deity to grant him some powers and change his life. Determined, he vows this will be his final delivery. He rides through a landscape of flowing lava, following the navigation past mountains of magma until he finds a small house. He arrives at the door, melting in the extreme heat, and announces the delivery. The door instantly flies open, blasting him with a wave of brutal, sweat-inducing hot air. Inside, a dwarf working at a forge turns around angrily. Our main character quickly explains he is just a delivery boy. The dwarf steps forward, realizing his sister sent this guy. Our hero cannot believe they are related. Suddenly, the dwarf realizes this is not Hermes, and his powerful aura flares up, demanding to know why a mortal intruded. Hajin quickly explains that the goddess told him to deliver this. Seeing the bottle is completely untouched, the dwarf is genuinely impressed, while the boy insists he is no thief. You and I both know how tempting that nectar was, but the dwarf praises his honesty. Hearing that a single sip would make him a god, Hajin instantly regrets not drinking the entire thing. The god eagerly pops the cap, ready to drink. Hajin reaches out, hoping to get a taste, but the dwarf snatching the bottle chugs the nectar down before our boy can react. He tosses the empty bottle aside, praising the taste. Our boy is completely crushed, while the dwarf happily boasts that he hasn't had nectar. This fresh in centuries. He introduces himself as Hephaestus and asks the boy's name. Hearing it is Hajun Lee, he thanks him for his honesty. But before Hajun can ask for a reward, the god turns back to his forge. Hajun grabs his massive shoulder and tells him to wait. When the god asks what he wants, the boy demands his delivery fee. Hephaestus laughs, telling him he has already been paid, and walks away. Hajun checks his app as a flash of light blinds him. He wakes up in bed with 1,000 points, wondering if it was a dream. The app had instantly warped him back to Earth, but now a strange system screen floats in front of him. He complains, completely clueless about what these points actually do. He just met a literal god, yet all he wanted was to become an S-rank hunter. Suddenly, a notification reveals that those points can be traded for shop items. Opening the shop, he sees items ranging from golden apples for 1,000 points to legendary vehicles for 100,000. He gets annoyed because everything is way too expensive. He keeps scrolling, searching for anything useful for hunter gates. He almost gives up, thinking the app is useless, until one specific option catches his eye. At the bottom, he can exchange 1 point for $10. If this is real, that single delivery earned him $10,000. He quickly taps the screen. A crisp $10 bill instantly materializes and drops into his lap. He picks it up, shocked by how real it feels. The screen updates to 999 points. Staring at the cash, he starts tapping the screen repeatedly until a storm of money rains down. With a massive grin, he throws the cash in the air, celebrating his sudden fortune. Next, we see him happily eating ramen, glowing with pure joy. He even tests the cash at an ATM, and it works perfectly. He almost cries tears of joy realizing he made $10,000 from one delivery. When the shop owner asks if he is okay, he just laughs like an absolute maniac. While planning his next move, the television mentions an elite guild preparing for the Tartarus Gate, known as the deadliest dungeon on Earth. Their star recruit ranked in the top 5 and has a contract with Hephaestus. Hajun instantly recognizes that deity as the chubby dwarf who just became his favorite customer. He leaves the restaurant full and happy when his phone begins to buzz. Having a feeling this would happen, he kept his scooter ready. A new delivery request glows. Just like before, he gets instantly teleported. Opening his eyes in Olympus, he finds himself in a beautiful botanical garden right before a voice calls out his name. A beautiful goddess appears, introducing herself as Demeter. She explains she heard about him from her nephew Hephaestus, leaving Hajun completely stunned by the connection. Honestly, none of these gods look related. But as Demeter smiles, asking if she can trust him with a delivery, trust me, you are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to watch the craziest delivery job in history. Our guy expects some legendary weapon, but the goddess Demeter literally cooks up a warm lunchbox and demands he take it to go. Hajun thinks this will be an absolute breeze, but then the temperature drops. Suddenly, the entire lush garden rots into dust within a split second. Confused and terrified, he watches her walk away with a cheerful thank you. He prays this delivery isn't some divine bomb waiting to detonate. Still, he hooks it onto his scooter, figuring a mother wouldn't send explosives to her own beloved daughter, right? Then he pulls up the drop-off location. Before he can even process the details, a blinding light flashes, sending him straight back to Earth. The app confirms the destination is indeed in Korea. He recalls that gods aren't allowed to leave their heavenly domains without permission, so this must be a loophole. That means he is about to meet her daughter in person. He is super hyped, already imagining the insane points he'll earn. But the moment he arrives, his jaw drops. This has to be a sick joke. The system is sending him straight into Tartarus, the deadliest dungeon on Earth, and a graveyard for high-rank hunters. He tells himself the daughter must be waiting at the entrance gate. But the GPS recalibrates, pointing his route directly into the darkest, deepest depths of the abyss. He screams in panic and tries to cancel the order, but the system warns that canceling now brings divine wrath. A 42-minute timer appears, threatening to turn him into a pig with a human brain if he fails. He stares in utter despair, terrified of becoming bacon. He should have read the fine print first. To make matters worse, there is no way he can slip past the heavily armed guards. His stressed-out brain even starts thinking about pork recipes. Right then, a helpful system notification pops up, pointing him toward the shop. But he knows his point balance is practically non-existent. He actually thinks about hiring professional hunters to do the run. But then he spots an item for 800 points, a replica helmet that grants 30 minutes of complete invisibility. You are not going to want to miss his desperate panic here. It is either fork over his last points for a magic helmet or get turned into a literal pig. So he buys the scam gear, swears he's quitting, and immediately drops it like a total klutz. What a complete idiot! With only 38 minutes remaining, he secures the helmet and guns the engine, driving right past the guards without making a single sound. The guards just sneeze, blaming it on a cold draft. Heart pounding in absolute terror, he rides toward the portal. It is the most dangerous zone on Earth, but he has to push forward. Hajun Lee is a 20-year-old delivery boy with no license, no god-tier contract, and zero combat skills. Yet, somehow, he becomes the first human in history to breach the deepest floor of Tartarus. He looks around, but the area is dead silent. At least, he made it before the deadline and avoided the pork curse. He starts shouting for the customer, but suddenly, A massive three-headed wolf emerges from the shadows, locking its eyes onto him. He completely freezes. The terrifying beast creeps closer, drooling with hunger. Lacking any real power, he suddenly regrets not choosing the pig curse. The monster gets right in his face, and he prepares for the end. He spent all his hard-earned points on that useless gear just to deliver himself as a snack. Desperate, he triggers the helmet's second charge just as the massive jaws snap shut right over his head. He thinks he is dead, but a voice suddenly orders the beast to stop eating garbage. The giant jaws freeze. Hajin slowly opens his eyes, shocked to find himself in one piece. He turns around to see a young girl standing there. He cannot believe a kid is hanging out in the deepest depths of Tartarus. She giggles, pats the monster, and says her dog is harmless. He instantly notices she looks exactly like Demeter, and politely announces her delivery. Just then, a deep voice asks where Persephone went, and a pale man appears, assuming she is playing with Cerberus. The man spots our main character and demands to know how a mere mortal breached the realm of Hades. Terrified, the poor delivery boy tries to speak, but his voice completely fails him. Hades notes that no mortal has set foot here since Orpheus. A dark, suffocating energy wraps tightly around Hejin's throat, choking him. Hades reminds him that Orpheus came for love, while this boy came to steal a holy helmet. But when the god inspects the helmet, he realizes it's just a cheap replica. Persephone begs her husband to let the boy speak first, so Hades drops him, leaving Hejin gasping on the floor. Now, let us pause and think about how wild this sounds. Gasping for air, our delivery boy explains he is just dropping off food. Not for the terrifying god of the underworld, but a home-cooked meal sent by his wife. The divine couple exchange highly confused looks. Hades asks why a random mortal brought this instead of the messenger god, Hermes. Trembling, Hejin squeaks out that he is just following the app. Persephone immediately recognizes her mother's signature lunchbox. Hades asks if his wife really sent it, and she confirms it came from her mother-in-law. It seems a mother's love transcends even the divine boundaries. She is thrilled that the meal is still warm. Hearing this, Hejin's brain short-circuits. He points right at Hades and blurts out that he's way too old and gross to be her husband. He instantly covers his mouth, realizing his intrusive thoughts just escaped. But Hades heard everything and dangerously asks him to repeat that. The terrified main character starts desperately bowing and rambling apologies, shaking like a leaf. Instead of obliterating him, Hades just breaks out into a massive, booming laugh. Hejin stands there completely stunned as the god admits he has never met a human brave enough to insult him. He demands the boy's name, which Hejin stammers out. Hades decides to spare him just this once. But he warns that if he slips up again, a simple hand gesture will unleash a devastating wave of dark underworld energy. With that settled, Hades says the transaction is complete and tells him to thank his mother-in-law. Instantly, the system screen flashes. He receives 10,000 points plus an extra 5,000 from the king himself. The god even tosses the magic helmet back, calling it a cheap toy the boy can keep. Grinning from ear to ear, Hejin bows in gratitude. Meanwhile, an exhausted combatant prepares to face a terrifying dragon. He braces himself for the ultimate clash. This is Team 1's legendary captain, the elite combat hunter Doyen Ha. He lands a quick combo, but the massive dragon sweeps back, slashing deep across his chest. He unleashes another flurry of strikes, but the beast tears into him again. Suddenly, a teammate strikes from the shadows with an aura blade. The dragon roars in pain, takes flight, and crashes down onto the rocky ground, completely defeated. The swordsman walks over to offer his congratulations. They have finally conquered the first 4 floors of Tartarus. This is none other than the third-ranked guild master in the entire world, Shangjun Park. The crew goes wild, celebrating their historic achievement of reaching the deepest, most dangerous territory of the dungeon. Though completely exhausted, Shangjun praises Doyen for making this victory possible. Modest as always, Doyen deflects the praise. The team embraces, laughing and promising to conquer every future threat together as a family. Shangjun tells Eren not to butcher the 17th-ranked dragon too quickly. She nods, understanding. He knows she wants to harvest the valuable mana stones, but they have plenty of time. Suddenly, her senses spike. Leaping off the dragon corpse, she warns that a high-speed target is approaching. The drained squad peers into the darkness, terrified of another fight. Shangjun orders everyone into formation as Eren yells it's right on them. The captain commands the team to flee if things get ugly, promising to sacrifice himself to hold the line. But his loyal teammates refuse, shouting that they will fight and die by his side. He smiles warmly, but Eren cuts the moment short. She points as a strange engine roar echoes, revealing a helmeted delivery guy riding a basic scooter. Shangjun can only stare in absolute disbelief at the ridiculous sight. Unbothered, Hejin casually asks if he can squeeze past them. Looking at the dead beast, he praises their skills and admits he is glad his camouflage helmet held out. He flashes them a quick thumbs up, warning them about dark magical beasts ahead, before revving his engine and speeding off. The legendary hunters are left standing there, completely speechless. So what do you and I take from this madness? That 150 million won per delivery beats dodging ancient dinosaurs any day. Stick around, because this ride is just getting started. Alright, you and I are about to jump into the story of a guy who just struck it rich. To get this much cash, normally he would need 50,000 delivery jobs. He is grinning like crazy, staring at that massive number all day. Sure, he was terrified of turning into a pig, almost got eaten by a dog, and was nearly strangled by the god of the underworld. When he looks back, he really suffered for this cash, but none of that matters now. He made a fortune and, like a greedy little capitalist, he already wants more. He vows to work even harder from now on. But then his stomach growls. Time for some beer and fried chicken first. Meanwhile, Shangjun is stuck at a conference. Completely exhausted, he steps out to talk to the members. Up next, he has to meet the Hunter Association president. The man seriously never gets a break. Doyen asks if he mentioned our mystery delivery boy at the conference. He says no. For now, it is better to keep quiet since nobody actually knows where that guy came from. They should have chased him, but everyone was too exhausted and stunned to move. Still, the entire guild is curious. The blonde points out his weird helmet and scooter, saying he might be easy to track down, but Shangjun tells them to drop it. Their job is clearing dungeons, not hunting down a mystery rider. He tells the other two they need new gear, meaning they are heading straight to the mining dungeon. Dorian starts to complain but quickly gives in, asking what kind of metal they are hunting. After thinking it over, Shangjun reveals they are looking for celestial metal. Meanwhile, our main character is enjoying his chicken when his phone suddenly rings. He jumps up instantly, refusing to miss a divine order. Despite his hunger, a bright flash of light pulls him away, dumping him right in the mountains. Right in front of him is the house of Hephaestus again, and that is when he realizes he forgot his scooter and helmet. As he panics over that, someone suddenly creeps up behind him. A voice calls out to him, and he turns to find a crying dwarf. Hijin asks why he is standing outside. Still weeping, the smith god says he got kicked out, leaving Heijin completely baffled. He explains he was drinking with Dionysus when a woman showed up, called him dear, scolded him for drinking, and threw them both out onto the street, telling them never to return. Dionysus bolted instantly, leaving the poor dwarf all alone. Heijin sighs, then asks what he wants delivered. Looking absolutely miserable, Hephaestus begs for anything to eat or drink. He has not had a single bite since getting thrown out. He even begged his sister, but she had zero nectar left. Now, Heijin is his absolute last hope, but our main character has no clue what gods actually eat. Pay attention here, the god just wants meat and alcohol. Heijin checks his phone and tells him to wait. A flash of light erupts while the dwarf remains face down. He starts sniffing the air until Heijin returns with his own chicken and beer, happy to share his meal. The god has no clue what this food is, so Heijin explains it is a classic Korean combo. Taking a sip, the dwarf is overjoyed, claiming he has never tasted anything so refreshing. He initially complained that the chicken pieces looked too small, but the moment he takes a bite, he declares it the best meal of his life. Heijin wonders if this guy is actually a god, right before the dwarf promises a massive reward. Right then, his phone buzzes with 15,000 points. The clever delivery boy cannot believe he just made 150,000 from a simple chicken run. The dwarf tells him to call whenever he needs gear. Heijin thinks this god is the sweetest guy alive and almost wants to hug him, until a voice suddenly calls out, "Dear," making them both freeze. Heijin freezes as a gorgeous woman asks why the dwarf is drinking again. It is Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Our main character is totally blown away, having never seen anyone this stunning. He cannot comprehend how she is married to this weeping dwarf. Suddenly, Hephaestus drops to his knees, quickly explaining that he is only eating outside because she kicked him out. I know what you are thinking, this couple is pure chaos. She glares at her husband while Heijin sweats. Then, she turns, calls Heijin by name, and introduces herself as Aphrodite. She truly is the goddess of love, radiating an incredible, jaw-dropping charm. She apologizes for the scene, but Heijin says it is fine since he is just a hired delivery boy. Hearing that, the dwarf asks for another favor. He hesitates, but Aphrodite praises him as an honest young man who is not driven by greed. Smiling, Heijin says they can always count on him as the official delivery boy of the gods. The dwarf is thrilled, though Heijin secretly wishes he was working for Aphrodite instead. Regardless, the blacksmith god asks him to fetch some materials for his forge, located in Hijin's city, specifically celestial metal. Next thing we know, he is on his scooter, questioning his life choices. Standing before the entrance of the Surrey mines, his heart begins to pound with intense anxiety. He cannot believe he is entering another dungeon. When he saw the location, he immediately researched the mines. He initially refused the quest, telling Hephaestus that the previous dungeon nearly cost him his life. The dwarf asked why, and he explained that he is not a hunter and cannot fight. He only survived last time thanks to a stealth helmet, but now it is completely broken. Hephaestus laughed, telling him to just hand over the broken gear. The dwarf boasts that he is the literal god of blacksmiths and can easily repair any mythical item in existence. Hejin gets hyped, and soon he has the helmet back. It is now a repaired replica with a 2-minute limit and 2 uses. He enters the gate, but the inside looks like a busy carnival. He knew this dungeon was popular, but this crowd is insane. He thought fighting monsters would be the tough part, but now he realizes the real challenge is just pushing past the crowd. Meanwhile, Doyen is casually eating nearby. After driving for 30 minutes, Heijin finally reaches an empty cavern. Unfortunately, the terrain is terrible, making his scooter rattle like crazy. He starts spotting glowing minerals in the walls, but he needs red celestial metal. He keeps riding, wondering how much deeper he has to go, when he rounds a corner and a giant skeleton passes right by. He panics but keeps speeding ahead since he is still invisible. Suddenly, his scooter crashes into a rock. The skeleton hears the noise but looks around confused, unable to see a thing. The bad news? His scooter is completely wrecked. He pauses, then smiles, remembering he is rich enough to buy 10 more. He climbs deeper into the cave until, right on a massive rock pile, he spots the glowing ore. He walks up, takes off his helmet, and grins, thrilled to have finally found it. Only problem? Getting it out. He yanks from one side, kicks from the other, and finally gives up in frustration. What is he supposed to do now? Luckily, the system tells him to check the shop, where he spots a recommended tool for 4,700 points. It is an explorer pickaxe that can mine anything instantly, but only once. To him, 4,700 points is basically 47 million won. That is insane when the entrance rents them for 10,000. He turns to leave, refusing to blow that much cash. But then he looks back at his scooter, which is clearly on its absolute last legs. Knowing it won't survive the trip back, he decides to play it safe. He spends the 4,700 points summoning the pickaxe. Vowing to make the dwarf god pay him back, he swings hard at the ore. The strike lands perfectly. The celestial metal pops free, and the expensive pickaxe crumbles into dust. As the glowing ore rolls down the rock pile, he chases after it like an idiot. He lifts it, but the thing is insanely heavy. After a struggle, he secures it on his scooter, wishing he could just teleport to Olympus. But right then, a massive stone ogre looms directly behind him. Without his stealth helmet on, he freezes in sheer terror. The monster unleashes a roar that shakes the entire cave. Farther away, Doyen pauses mid-fight, wondering what that terrifying noise was. Doyen senses something rushing out of the dark. But trust me, you and I are not ready for this. It is Hejin on his scooter, screaming at him to get out of the way. All right, you and I are back with our crazy delivery guy as Do-won spots him speeding past. Hajin just screams at him to run for his life, leaving Do-won completely speechless before he vanishes. Then a massive roar echoes behind him. Do-won turns around and freezes. A giant ogre is charging straight at him. He books it instantly, desperately begging the runaway biker for a ride. Meanwhile, Hajin is screaming his lungs out about almost dying. Hephaestus praises his impressive speed, but our main character just curses him out for sending him into a literal death trap. The dwarf looks completely clueless, claiming nothing in that mine should risk a life. The main character insists the rock itself was colossal. Realizing explaining is useless, he goes to drag the massive red block over. He slams the giant ore down, telling Hephaestus to feast his eyes on the monster rock he asked for. The dwarf stares in absolute shock, wondering what kind of legendary beast brought this. Hajin tells him to quit playing around, since that is the celestial metal he requested. The dwarf lifts it up, utterly amazed, saying he has never seen a piece this huge or pure. Hajin is totally confused by his reaction. The dwarf tells him to hold on, runs off, and returns with a tiny pebble apparently that was the biggest piece he had ever seen before. He looks at the main character like he is a god, declaring he deserves way more than the original deal. While Hajin stands stunned, the dwarf completely geeks out over his new treasure. The job was supposed to pay 20,000 points, but he gets a massive 50,000 instead. The payout is so insane it makes him dizzy. We are talking $500,000. The dwarf explains he had to pay extra, since leaving any of this pure metal behind would be a crime. Hajin drops to his knees, thanking him with tears in his eyes. The dwarf tells him to stand up, but the boy whimpers that even his legs are crying tears of gratitude. Later, the news reports on a massive earthquake at the Sarai mines. Duwan tells Sangjin he is fine, but warns him the mines will be closed. Sangjin asks what went down, and Duwan mentions a giant golem and that mysterious Tartarus Gate biker. And here is the part you and I need to watch closely. The golem was actually chasing him, making Sangjin realize they need to recruit this mysterious biker. Duwan remembers the license plate and mentions he even secured the area's security recordings. The leader smiles, knowing a hunter like that would make their guild unstoppable, and decides to handle the search himself. Duwan is thrilled, swearing his absolute loyalty, until Sangjin asks if he brought back any celestial metal. That immediately silences them both. Meanwhile, Ha-Jin stares at 75,000 points on his screen, grinning like an idiot. With $500,000, he can finally buy a house. His earnings are completely out of this world. But he knows survival was pure luck. To stay alive, he opens the system shop to find some gear. Unfortunately, just like before, most of the items are overpriced garbage. Even the cheapest replica weapons cost $1,000,000 and look flimsy. For a split second, he wonders if fighting monsters is even worth the hassle. But then, a level 1 racing suit catches his eye. It boosts the user's physical stats based on its current level. It costs 50,000 points, and he is annoyed the system never recommended it earlier. Still, 50,000 is a massive chunk of his earnings. After hesitating, he buys it as a work investment. It should make future deliveries way safer. The moment he confirms, a bright flash erupts, and the suit appears. He is down to 25,000 points, but now he is fully geared up. Slipping it on feels incredibly strange. It is snug, yet so lightweight it feels like a second skin, and it stays perfectly cool. Excited, he decides to test his new gear. Cut to Duwan, who's having a miserable time in the city. He is desperate to find the biker, but even with a plate number, he cannot get an address since the guy has no criminal record. He screams in frustration, wondering how to find him. Suddenly, a biker stops nearby and points out that the light is green. Duwan apologizes and steps aside, murmuring that lots of people ride that bike. Then he spots the identical scratches and matching license plate. He screams at Ha-Jin to stop, but the bike roars away. Desperate, Do-won chases after him, spots a taxi, and dives inside, telling the driver to follow that bike. But the driver kicks him out, asking if he thinks this is a movie. The cab speeds away, leaving him in the dust. Determined, Do-won runs on foot, hoping the biker will stop eventually. After a grueling run, he collapses to the pavement, completely breathless. A woman asks if he is okay, recognizing him from a top-tier guild. He quickly denies it. No high-ranking hunter would ever be caught dead face down on the street like this. Okay, I know what you were thinking. Where is our main character? Just as Do-won loses track, a loud scream echoes, giving him a bad feeling. He sneaks closer, but the bike is nowhere in sight. Some local elders warn him to be quiet, since loud noises here could trigger a deadly avalanche. He tells them not to worry because he is a professional guild hunter, then sprints up the path. Soon, he spots something bizarre, a rock with a clean, perfect hole drilled through it. He is stunned, knowing a normal person could never do this. A strong B-rank hunter might smash a rock, but making a clean crater requires magic or divine force. If the biker did this, they need him. Back home, a completely exhausted Ha-Jin is still shocked by his new power. He actually blasted a hole in a solid rock and ran faster than his own motorcycle. He is thrilled and feels ready to tackle any dangerous dungeon. Suddenly, his phone rings with a traditional Chinese melody. He checks the location, Bukshan. This isn't Olympus, so it must be a dungeon. He searches Bukshan and finds Manhwa. Since there is no time limit, he decides to let his suit recharge first. But he has no idea he is being watched. A blonde guild member is tracking his every move. Dayan reports to Sangjin, suggesting they spread their forces to catch him. Sangjin points out they don't even have a photo, but Dayan grins and pulls out a flawless sketch of the biker. The leader is impressed, realizing the guy is way stronger than he looks. Dayan mentions the hold rock, a feat no ordinary civilian could ever pull off. While Yangwon is Korea's top guild, the runner-up, Black Dragon, is catching up fast. The scary part is, those guys will commit any crime to gain more power. Sangjin knows they can't let a major talent fall into those shady hands. Dayan confidently promises he'll be the one to recruit him first. The next day, Ha-Jin arrives at Mount Huago and finds a massive crowd, which is weird for an unpopular dungeon. As he walks up, a guard barks at him to stop, only to realize he was yelling at a kid. He overhears people whispering about the notorious Black Dragon Guild. Hajin knows they love gatekeeping dungeons, but he slips inside anyway since he has a job to do. The moment he enters, his phone alerts him that the target is near. He takes a few more steps and the map claims he is standing right on top of it. He looks up the towering mountain and groans, realizing his destination is at the very peak. The memory of the golem makes him sweat, but his new suit gives him the confidence to face anything. And that is where we leave it for today. A talking monkey head in the dirt. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into this madness. The monkey tells him to chill out like, has he seriously never talked to a monkey before? Confused, our main character asks if this primate placed the delivery order. Apparently, some kid wearing a winged hat promised his savior would show up. Our hero starts wondering if that weird winged hat kid is behind all this. The monkey has a favor to ask, and our main character tells him to name it. That is when the creature introduces himself as the beautiful Monkey King, the victorious Buddha, but most people just know him as the great Sun Wukong. Hajun instantly thinks of Goku and asks why he is trapped down here. Sun Wukong explains he got busted for stealing peaches from the Jade Emperor. He only wanted one single bite, but the second he touched them, boom, sealed under a mountain. Hajun nods, asking what exactly he needs to fetch. Wukong says it is simple, just follow the path behind him until he hits a giant pile of trash. There is a hidden box there that needs retrieving. Hajun checks his map and sees it is 6 miles away. Since that is an easy trip, he promises to be right back and heads off. But the little monkey just grins slyly. Deep in the forest, a group of adventurers wonder if they just stumbled onto the boss of Mount Huago. A colossal golem looms ahead of them. But their female leader steps up, telling everyone not to panic. She is Johan, leader of the Black Dragon Guild, with an overwhelming aura that could rival Aphrodite. She knows their rivals cleared the first 4 floors of Tartarus, but if her guild can take down this 8-trigram boss, they will seize the top spot. She orders the assault, and her blonde second-in-command tells the tanks to push forward. But the vanguard hesitates. The monster is not even moving, yet something feels incredibly wrong here. The moment a vanguard takes a step, the earth collapses and a terrifying titan begins to rise. It is so massive, its shadow completely swallows up the entire raid party. A single roar sends shivers down their spines, making them scream that this fight is impossible, but the blonde warns that anyone who retreats gets executed by the guild. The grunts complain they cannot beat this titan with garbage gear. Suddenly, a fiery redhead screams for everyone to brace themselves. If they lose focus for even a second, they are dead meat. After a brief hesitation, the squad charges in. The blonde asks if this crazy plan will actually work, and she calmly admits she has no clue. Now, pay attention here, while Hajun is riding his scooter, a massive earthquake strikes and even local monsters are running for their lives. Spotting dark smoke in the distance, he knows trouble is brewing. Even though his suit is still on cooldown, he decides to investigate. Meanwhile, the frontline adventurers are absolutely getting pulverized. A single massive stomp obliterates the vanguard, and while the archers try to back them up, their arrows just bounce off. Realizing normal attacks are useless, the redhead spots a mage standing near the leader. The poor guy protests that he only came to register, not to fight, but Shiyu claims letting everyone survive would ruin her guild's reputation. Before he can even process that logic, she knocks him clean out with a punch. With the battlefield being way too loud for anyone to notice, the rest of the squad keeps pushing forward. The redhead uses a leap skill to launch himself straight at the golem, landing a brutal strike right on its face. After a brutal struggle, the giant finally collapses. The team erupts in cheers, thinking their strategy actually worked. They celebrate, convinced they are going home alive, but then, the golem suddenly starts moving again. Its internal gears superheat as it stands back up, and Johan looks absolutely thrilled. The boss is officially entering Phase 2, appearing larger and way more menacing. Watching from the sidelines, Hajin wonders where the like button is on this insane action. My friends, if you want part 2 of this epic ride, make sure to hit that subscribe bell. Now, let's get back to it. Remember how our hero ended up inside this dungeon after the monkey sent him on a fetch quest? The moment he arrived, things got crazy. But meanwhile, outside the dungeon, Do Hyun reveals he was in Suwon yesterday and is already rushing over to Bucheon. The poor guy is hunting so hard for Hajun, he is basically traveling across the entire province. But when he finally arrives at the entrance of Sunju Mountain, the eerie silence completely throws him off. Out of nowhere, a chubby guy wearing glasses calls out to him. Do Hyun asks where the hell he came from, but the guy snaps back, telling him to watch his tone and state his business. So Do Hyun states his name and asks what he is planning. He is already certain this guy is not with the association, but likely a Black Dragon thug, so he just pushes past him, telling him to get lost. The chubby guard keeps yelling at him to turn back, but since he cannot actually stop him, Do Hyun heads inside anyway. This confirms his suspicion if they are guarding the entrance. An active boss raid is happening. He sprints forward, desperate to warn people since this dungeon was supposed to be abandoned. Meanwhile, the true battle begins as the terrifying 8 trigrams boss fully triggers its second phase. And yeah, I know what you were thinking. Is Hajun going to save the day? Well, he just arrived, but seeing a colossal titan firing a laser from its stomach, he realizes this is the junk the monkey wanted. Trembling, our hero wonders how he is going to pull this off. That is when he spots the redhead and her squad, immediately recognizing them as the notorious Black Dragon Guild. Desperate members trying to flee are being dragged right back into the meat grinder. Then, weirdly, the blonde guy leaps onto the monster's chest carrying a mage. This leaves Hajun completely baffled, wondering what on earth he is planning. The cruel Black Dragon member actually prepares to toss the poor adventurer directly into the burning core. The man screams for mercy, but the blonde cold-heartedly tells him that is what he gets for trying to escape. He lets him drop, but Hajun blitzes in, catching the guy while launching a massive fist right into the blonde's face. The guild leader watches in sheer shock, wondering how some random kid just one-shotted a B-rank adventurer. Our hero rescues the man in mid-air, landing safely with him. The terrified adventurer gasps out his thanks, but urgently warns that staying in this active war zone is suicide. Hajun looks around, realizing he is trapped right between a colossal boss and the entire hostile guild. He could easily steal the box and run during the chaos, but he cannot just abandon these people. He tells the man to relax. He simply could not stand by and watch someone get murdered. The Black Dragon leader demands to know why the assault halted. While Hajun blames these idiots for the chaos, his suit's power is down to 2 minutes and 17 seconds. The redhead is absolutely livid because she thought victory was within their grasp. The bald commander asks if they should deploy the archers, but she snaps back with a hard no. They need to sacrifice more bodies first, and that is the secret to defeating the 8 trigrams titan. While it transitions from Phase 1 to Phase 2, the giant is completely paralyzed. Feeding sacrifices into its chest core at this moment makes the battle insanely easy. Suddenly, the bald guy points up in shock. Hajun has launched himself incredibly high, soaring right above the titan. From up there, he spots a massive crack in its head. Sure, that is the weak spot. He unleashes a heavy punch directly onto the monster's head. The guild leader starts shaking, wondering what this absolute idiot thinks he is doing. At this rate, he is going to trigger the boss early. Furious, she orders her forces to stop him. She does not care if he survives or dies, he just needs to be taken down. Instantly, the guild rains arrows upon them. Hajun's suit is down to 1 minute and 31 seconds. He keeps pounding the titan's skull, begging it to shatter. Suddenly, a danger warning flashes, and his body begins dodging the incoming arrows completely on instinct. He is completely shocked, wondering why these humans are actively trying to kill him. Down below, the bald guy tells the leader this stranger is moving like a god, evading blindside attacks until an arrow accidentally hits the titan's eye. The Colossus trembles as its massive eye flares to life. Realizing they might need their entire force just to contain this kid, the bald commander orders the heavy vanguard to charge. Heijin wonders when this monster will finally go down. As it is covered in so many arrows, it looks like it is wearing a wig. Suddenly, the earth violently shakes. The captain drops her fan, realizing they are totally screwed. Phase 2 is active. Hajun complains about the intense heat while the hunters below shake in terror. With a deafening roar, the golem stomps, obliterating their entire vanguard in a single blow. The bald commander asks what to do, but she has no answers left. And honestly, you and I can see there is nothing they can do. Facing the giant golem, they are all about to be burned to ash. Alright, you and I are jumping right into the action, where Hajun is relentlessly hammering this monster's head. She cannot believe he is surviving up there, but his suit has only 10 seconds of power left. It is dropping fast, down to 5 seconds. He begs the beast to break, and with just 1 second left, his final punch completely obliterates its head. As the smoke clears, Doyum finally arrives and just stands there in absolute shock. Staring at the massive fallen boss, he wonders if this kid actually soloed it. Honestly, Doyum feels a strange connection to Hajun. They fight so similarly, but he never in a million years expected to find him here. He rushes toward him, determined to recruit this beast of a kid today. Meanwhile, below, the surviving Black Dragon members are stunned, and Zoan cannot believe some random loser just soloed the 8 trigrams. When her underling asks for orders, she tells him to grab the boy the second the smoke clears. Sure, he was strong enough to win, but he is bound to be exhausted, and they cannot let him escape. Suddenly, a massive explosion blocks their path. It is Do Hyun stepping up, and the entire guild recognizes him instantly. Now pay close attention, because he just exposed their twisted plan to use the recruits as human sacrifices. Zohan did not expect him to crash their party, so she quickly orders her troops to prepare for battle. Pointing directly at him, she declares him the main target and warns everyone to stay sharp. But as tension rises, another lackey runs up to her, panicking that they have a huge problem on their hands. When she asks what is wrong, he nervously confesses that the helmeted guy is gone. Both Zoan and Do-hyun are completely baffled by the sudden disappearance, driving her to scream in pure frustration. Our delivery guy is in a serious bind. He got dragged into this mess by complete accident and had to flee with his helmet before he literally died and woke up in the afterlife. The poor guy questions why he even helped those people when he is not even a real hunter. He vows never to make that mistake again, but then something catches his eye. In the distance, Suseong True Mountain City lies ahead. He wonders if the dungeon is collapsing because the boss died. See, dungeons form when gates stay open too long, leaving the boss free game for anyone. But doing that is incredibly tough. Normally, only elite registered hunters can manage it. This time, though, the one who cleared the entire thing is officially registered as a simple delivery worker. He just prays this does not bring him any trouble. But then he remembers his conversation with that strange monkey who was complaining that the kid took way too long. Tearfully, Hajun argues that the delivery request was flat out impossible. The monkey just snaps, telling him to stop whining and explain. Hajun snaps back that the monkey called it easy, but it was a giant beast that shook the earth and shot lasers that almost fried him alive. The monkey insists that is impossible, questioning why the normally peaceful 8 trigrams would go completely wild unless someone actively attacked it first. Suddenly, our hero realizes that if not for the Black Dragon Guild, this task would have been a breeze. Now he is totally fired up to crack some skulls. How dare they mess with his deliveries? Now, you might be thinking there is no way he got the package through all that, but Hajun proudly reveals that he did. When Wukong asks how, Hajun explains he obliterated the monster and delivers the box, asking what makes it so special. The Monkey King bursts out laughing, absolutely losing it over how incredible this kid is. Even if Wukong defeated that beast in the heavens, its earthly form could easily wipe out any normal human. Impressed, he asks for our hero's name. Reaching out, he declares that today, he met Hajun Lee. Suddenly, the box bursts open with a massive flash. An object shoots into the air, and when Hajun opens his eyes, the monkey is holding his legendary staff, thanking him and promising to return the favor. Without the kid, he would have been sealed away for ages. Hajun instantly recognizes the legendary golden staff. Wukong lets out a sharp whistle, summoning a cloud right beneath him. He warns Hajun to clear out before the Jade Emperor notices, then zooms away, shouting that they will cross paths again. Hajun is left utterly speechless, not even caring that the monkey flew off without paying. But suddenly, a heavy sack drops right onto his face. Wukong calls out that he is no cheapskate, his actual payment is sent, and this sack is just a little extra bonus. Before Hajun can ask, the monkey vanishes. A brilliant golden glow radiates from the bag. He opens it up, stunned that this is merely a bonus. Later, at home, Hajun turns on the news, watching his heavy accusations mount against the Black Dragon Guild. He feels a wave of relief seeing those criminals finally pay for their actions. On screen, the survivor Hajun rescued explains to reporters that no one expected to fight a boss in there. When the reporter asks about the mysterious helmeted savior, the survivor smiles, recalling how the hero appeared out of nowhere, just as he was about to be burned to a crisp. He took down the boss entirely solo, and without him, they would all be dead. Hearing this, Hajun grins, glad his desperate struggle paid off. Sure, his body moving on its own made him feel insane, but his secret identity is safe. But let us talk about the best part, the cash. He now has 95,300 points, with 70,000 coming from just this one run, though he still feels he earned a massive hazard pay bonus. Still, he is happy. Exchanged for cash, that is roughly $700,000 from a single gig, enough for a luxury apartment. Plus, he got an unbelievable reward, a strand of the great Wukong's hair. Place it on your palm, blow gently, and boom, it summons a powerful clone of the Monkey King. Hajun is ecstatic, knowing this could be a literal lifesaver as bizarre monsters continue to spawn everywhere. Even if it is just a clone, it is still the legendary Wukong. He even makes a ridiculous monkey face while staring at it, realizing he essentially just scored a free extra life. Right on cue, another delivery ping rolls in. He throws on his jacket, grabs his helmet, and prepares to head out. Meanwhile, at a hospital, a worried man sprints down the hall, calling out for Do-hyun. Do-hyun is looking pretty banged up and rough after his encounter with the guild. He weakly asks his leader why he is here, since he was supposed to be away in Bucheon today. The leader insists he wrap that up quickly because he could not just abandon him, blaming himself for Doyun getting hurt. But the kid shakes his head, admitting he misread the situation and jumped in when he should not have. He definitely should have kept his guard up around those Black Dragon scumbags. Sungjun is absolutely furious that they dared to touch one of his people, grumbling that Eri should have accompanied him. Next time, he vows to personally crush those bastards. Checking on his recovery, Do-yoon sighs and says the doctors gave him grim news, causing Sungjun to panic, wondering if his hunter career is officially over. But the brat was totally pulling his leg and bursts out laughing at how easily he fell for it. It is just a minor fracture and he will recover in no time, teasingly asking if his boss thought he would quit over this. The leader pinches his cheek, joking that today might actually be the perfect day for him to retire, but Do-yoon fires right back that he will follow his boss to the very end. But getting serious, he asks if it is true that the mysterious boy soloed the 8 trigrams. Do-yoon confirms it, recalling how that insane punch obliterated the monster, leaving him deeply inspired as a martial artist. When he asks if their search team found any leads on the kid, the leader sighs. Unfortunately, security cameras only tracked him into a blind alley before he completely vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, high in the sky, Hajun sneezes from the freezing wind. Eventually, he arrives at the sweltering workshop of Hephaestus. He pushes the door open and calls out, but the legendary blacksmith is too focused to notice. So Hajun pulls up a chair, deciding to wait for his friend to finish. Surrounded by the cozy warmth of the forge, he gets sleepy as the heat reminds him of something peaceful. It almost feels like resting in his mother's arms. Suddenly, Hephaestus rouses him with a massive, crushing hug, asking when he arrived. Startled, Hajun gasps, asking when the noisy dwarf even showed up. The dwarf notes he looks exhausted, but warns him this next delivery is incredibly far. Can he handle it? Hajun smiles. The longer the trip, the better the paycheck. And you and I both know he will walk to the ends of the earth for cold, hard cash. Hephaestus flashes a smile, glad he can count on him, and pulls out a staff. He crafted it using Hajun's materials, and it absolutely has to be delivered today. All right, you and I are about to watch the weirdest delivery run ever. When Hajun checks the staff and asks for the address, the god says it is a pyramid. Hajun is stunned, arguing a plane makes more sense since pyramids are not even Greek. With a sly wink, the god replies he has clients outside Olympus. Annoyed, Hajun runs off, promising to finish it soon. But Hephaestus stops the main character, mentioning he forgot one crucial detail. The client is highly unusual, so he is sending along a little helper. Confused, the boy wonders why a simple delivery needs backup. Suddenly, a little being greets him, claiming Cupid sent her, and introduces herself as Lucio. Despite the guy name, she looks like a girl. Deciding not to overthink it, he guns his scooter. The good news? Egypt is floating high up in the sky, meaning there is absolutely zero traffic to deal with. But suddenly, Lucio screams that she has been totally scammed. She expected to help a god, not ride behind a basic human. She keeps kicking his head, instantly driving him crazy. He snaps that she is incredibly annoying for a tiny fairy, but she barks back that she is actually quite large for a nymph. Back when they first met, she claims serving the main character was an honor. Hajun definitely did not want her along, but Hephaestus insisted, leaving the boy asking if he really could not fly solo. Lucio demands some respect, but Hajun explains it is not about trust. He just does not know the area, and since she does, she is supposed to guide him, not lag behind. Instead, she just picks her nose, complaining about riding a cheap human scooter. She keeps kicking his head, whining and demanding to know how much longer this trip is going to take. When he ignores her, she keeps screaming. Finally, he promises that if she shuts up, he will tell the god she was a perfect helper. But to Lucio, playing useless ruins her elite pride. She studied her entire life, and fairies are basically treated. All right, let's jump into a wild ride where Hajun literally stuffs candy in this kid's mouth to shut her up, promising more if she actually stays quiet for once. Lucio has never tasted candy, and to her, it is pure heaven. She warns him not to lie about getting more, but Hajun always keeps his word. Honestly, sweets are the ultimate cheat code for kids. With her mouth shut, they are only 800 meters away. He enjoys a brief moment of peace before spotting glowing eyes in the mist. He slows down, but the thick fog completely swallows them. Annoyed, he asks why she did not warn him, but she blames the candy. He abruptly stops the scooter and yanks her off as she struggles, desperately screaming at him to look behind them. Right behind them stands a giant sphinx, demanding they solve a riddle. Lucio warns that this beast eats anyone who fails is tied to Siphon, the monster that nearly destroyed Olympus. Watch closely now. This sphinx is not legend tier, but Hajun is no powerhouse either. One look at that massive size tells him his fists will not do much. Then his phone rings, making him pray this delivery pays well. He starts walking forward, and when Lucio asks what he is doing, he says the obvious: he is going to solve the riddle. She tries to stop him, terrified he will die. But Hajin is confident. Sphinx riddles are usually famous classics, right? Besides, in the absolute worst case, he still has Wukong's hair as a backup. The Sphinx asks if he is ready, and Hajun tells it to hurry up, he has a delivery to finish. While Lucio weeps because this idiot actually agreed, the giant beast grins and tells them to prepare. Hajun expects the classic line about what walks on 4 legs, then 2, then 3. Though honestly, with how buff some old men are these days, they do not even need a cane. He stays totally confident since he knows the classic, but then, the Sphinx asks a completely different question. What do you call the sound of a falling duck? I know what you were thinking, a duck question. Hajin stands there totally dumbfounded while the Sphinx stares. He asks what kind of joke this is, while Lucio mutters that ducks go quack. Then she bursts into tears because she has no clue what sound a hurt duck makes. She really does not want to get eaten alive. But through a viewing sphere, a mysterious woman in Egyptian clothes watches them, finding these visitors incredibly interesting. The Sphinx demands an answer, leaving Hajun completely clueless. What kind of terrible dad joke is this? But then, he remembers who and what he is dealing with. Maybe it is a pun or some weird wordplay. The Sphinx grins, giving him just 3 minutes. A desperate Lucio cries that it is impossible. Even as a top scholar, she has no clue. Furious, she blames Hajin for their impending doom. She remembers her teacher warning her about how brutal these riddles are before anyone ever solved one. 100 people got eaten alive. She had asked if they were truly impossible, and her teacher said not even Jim could get one right. His final warning? If you ever meet a Sphinx, just run. So now she is crying, waiting for the end. But then, Hajin turns around and drops his answer, a quackcident. You know, a mix of quack and accident. Lucio freezes, screaming at him for wasting their only chance on a stupid pun. But the Sphinx actually smiles and says he is right. Shocked, Lucio snaps, demanding to know how that garbage answer even counted. To Hajun, it was totally obvious it is a joke. The Sphinx praises his wit and grants them passage. But before she can even finish her sentence, Hajun tells her to shut up. He solved the puzzle, so she needs to get out of the way. The Sphinx is totally confused by his sheer hostility. He tells her to get better material because her riddle sucked, making the poor beast cry. He asks if she is seriously crying, but she blames the sand. Lucio still cannot believe he solved it, but Hajun tells her to hold on tight. Trust me, you and I are in for an even wilder ride next. Alright, you and I are jumping right back into this adventure as they enter the passage, where Lucio, sounding unsure, suddenly stops him to apologize for how she acted earlier. She was meant to help him, but instead, she just looked down on his human status, claiming she did not deserve her mega elite title. Hajun gently tells her to go easy on herself. Compared to the trash talk he is used to, this was nothing, just like dealing with a noisy younger cousin. Feeling a bit shy, Lucio thanks him as they finally reach the massive pyramid. The scale of this structure is so massive that she cannot even see the peak. Hajun checks his map to confirm their location when she notices some ancient writing nearby. Approaching a stone box covered in Egyptian hieroglyphs, she explains they need to ring the doorbell. Impressed by her reading skills, she proudly brags about her elite status. But the moment he presses the button, the ground violently shakes. Now pay attention, because using gravity magic for a simple doorbell makes absolutely no sense. Suddenly, the floor gives way, sending them plummeting down, leaving Hajun stunned that he survived such an insane fall. Turns out, his landing pad was poor Lucio, almost squeezing the life right out of her. When he asks if she is dead, she grumpily snaps back. Before they head deeper into the corridors, Hajun grumbles that this feels more like a dungeon raid than a delivery, but Lucio suddenly tells him to freeze. Thinking it is a trap, he shines his glowing light on the wall so she can read the text. Staring at the carvings, he asks why a giant is standing with humans. Noticing her terrified expression, he wonders if she has actually figured out what the drawing means. She explains it depicts an evil goddess who loved torturing nymphs, believing these are ancestral warnings. However, to Hajun, this looks less like a horrific massacre and more like some happy festival out in a sunny field. You and I are about to dive right into the chaos as she gets fired up, claiming it is time to avenge her ancestors. Hajun begs her to shut up since this is their client. Then, a mysterious leg steps in, asking what is going on. This woman turns around, demanding to know why they barged into her house. Smiling like Cleopatra herself, she calls them incredibly rude and asks which one of them is looking for revenge. Hajun is completely blind here, obviously, But Lucio flies straight at the woman, screaming that she is here for her ancestors. The main character tells her to chill out and stop acting crazy. The Egyptian goddess just smiles, asking if she is a nymph, since she hasn't seen one in ages. She grabs her in a massive hug, calling her adorable, while a suffocating Lucio screams for her to let go. Hajun just stands there, completely lost. Later, the woman explains that they used to hold festivals for nymphs in this place, and the young ones were always so incredibly cute. She hates that they are all gone now. Hajun mutters that he finally knows how they died. She probably hugged them to death, and Lucio is living proof. Laughing, the woman lets go, claiming she just cannot resist cute things. Lucio weeps, gasping that she almost died. She asks Hajun why he did not rescue her, but he just tells her to relax. They start bickering instantly when she reminds him he called her family. How could he let family die? The woman interrupts to introduce herself. She claims to rule the two brightest lands, as the divine reincarnation of Horus, an actual pharaoh, but our duo just ignores her and keeps arguing. Hajun asks what a pharaoh even is not Egypt a kingdom. Lucio sighs at his ignorance, explaining that there are actually two types of gods. There are natural deities born divine, and others who ascended to godhood like the woman before them. Meanwhile, the pharaoh is offended, asking why they are calling her an old lady. Hajun explains he is just here to deliver a package, and she reveals she already knew. She watched his entire journey. Right then, the delivery box begins to hover and flies straight into her hand. Now pay attention to this, she inspects the item, praising the incredible craftsmanship and design. She adds that Hajun, the delivery man, lives up to his massive reputation, leaving our poor main character completely confused. Since when did he have a reputation? Either way, with the job done, he asks for any bonuses to be sent straight to his account. Lucio calls him embarrassingly greedy, asking if he has absolutely no pride left. Hajun snaps back that pride does not buy dinner. The money she is mocking is exactly what pays for her favorite candy. That immediately gets her excited, and she tells him to make sure the deposit is huge. The pharaoh finds their bond adorable and tells them not to worry. She is a generous goddess, after all. He receives $50,000 for the delivery, plus another $50,000 as a sweet bonus. That leaves him with a massive payday. The lucky guy now has a grand total of $19 million. Lucio demands her share of candy, and he tells her not to worry, he will buy her a whole store. She excitedly demands 90% of the profit, leaving him awkwardly silent. But the goddess warns them not to use that tunnel next time, telling them to use the main entrance instead. She loves that old place, but receiving shipments in a dusty basement makes zero sense. Lucio points out the sign said to ring the bell if there were no guards. The pharaoh laughs, explaining there have not been guards there in years. So basically, they should have ignored that button and just walked up the stairs. With the delivery finally finished, he heads back to the house of Hephaestus. He is utterly exhausted, but glad to be back in one piece. He tells Lucio to wake up because she's drooling all over his hand. She blinks, asking if they are already back, and he nods. That is when she realizes they are standing right outside the house of Hephaestus. Over the radio, she actually thanks him and says she had fun, making him wonder why she is suddenly being so nice. Then he remembers the job is done, meaning it is time to part ways. He smiles, admitting it was nice having her around despite her constant talking. She tells him to shut up and stop ruining this sweet moment. But once they step inside, both loudly declare they never want to work together again. Still, Hajun secretly did not expect them to get along this well. Suddenly, Hephaestus appears and says the client praised them endlessly, suggesting they should remain partners. The two lock eyes, actually considering the idea for a split second. Then they headbutt each other, yelling they would only do it if forced. And yeah, you and I both remember the last chapter ending with them crashing together while swearing they would never team up. Next, our boy is sleeping peacefully in his quiet room when a voice calls his name. He wakes up to find Lucio violently shaking him to get out of bed. He screams in terror, asking what she is doing in his room, but she just covers her ears. She asks why he is yelling at her, wondering if he forgot they are partners. That triggers the memory of him refusing, only for Hephaestus to burst into tears, claiming it was his first fatherly favor. So Hajun folded. But the real issue is not just partnering up, he now has to live with this massive headache. He groans, asking why she had to wake him up from such a good sleep. Lucio claims the noise simply would not stop. Confused, he checks his phone and sees a delivery request from Manjak. He has absolutely no clue what Manjak is, but orders are flooding his screen. Once he checks closer, he realizes the truth. These are basic delivery jobs dropping off Chinese food across the city. The guy who was making millions is now grinding for $5 or $10. He remembers a whole week has passed since the chaos started, back when that woman ordered a delivery while sitting on the toilet. Lucio asks if he is doing okay, but he tells her not to worry. Still, she refuses to let it go. She grabs his shirt, demanding a real explanation because she wants to understand his pain. Before he can answer, his phone rings. He tenses up instantly when he sees his manager calling. The second he answers, the guy screams, asking if he is blind to the massive pile of orders waiting for him. We finally find out Manjak is his old delivery company. The angry boss claims he was incredibly generous to end his suspension after only a single week. He rants that our main character still has not learned his lesson, threatening to fire him on the spot. But Hajin Lee snaps, telling him to go right ahead because he simply does not care anymore. The furious boss asks if he has lost his mind, but the kid keeps pushing back. Lucio pulls out a power meter, watching his rage skyrocket past 40,000 before the device literally explodes. The boss warns that a blacklist means he is ruined. Hajin Lee repeats that he does not care. The manager tries to keep shouting, but our main character hangs up on him, leaving the guy whining after having his baldness brutally insulted. Lucio softly asks if he is truly okay. He smiles, saying he feels great right now and suggesting they go grab some food. Meanwhile, over at the guild, Songjun is fuming because they still cannot find the target. Ojong reports they searched every single street on the list, but nobody matching that description exists. He suspects the target knows he is being hunted and is actively laying low on purpose. Songjun sighs, thanking him for the update. He already has too many problems, and this mystery man is just another massive headache. When asked if they should continue the search, he says to call it off. He then asks about the situation in Busan, and the news is terrible. The 6A rank hunters sent there failed to close the gate, meaning in 5 days it will become a full dungeon outbreak. Songju nods grimly. A month ago, a gate appeared inside an abandoned building. When the association requested his guild, he knew it would be tough, but he never expected 6A rank hunters to fail. Then he suddenly smiles, realizing this might actually be a perfect opportunity. He commands his team to get ready because they are moving out immediately. Staring ahead, he vows to remind everyone why his guild is widely known as the absolute best in the nation. Meanwhile, our boy Hajin is happily eating some spicy cup noodles. He laughs, wishing he could have seen his manager's face when he hung up on him. Lucio declares a serious problem. She has never tasted anything this good before. And trust me, you and I know this is just the beginning of her endless appetite. All right, you and I are diving back into this wild story where he tells her not to spill, but she keeps praising how soft and spicy this is. To her, human food is magical. He realizes her past life was absolutely miserable. Even bystanders start whispering that life must be brutal if she has never tried instant ramen. Looking at her age and his youthful face, everyone just assumes he is a struggling single dad. Our main character definitely did not expect that kind of misunderstanding. Later, outside, a stuffed Lucio gets her face wiped, while he scolds her for overeating. But right then, a sudden realization hits him. This does not feel like a partner at all. She is basically his kid now. Nearby pedestrians even start gossiping about how tragic it is for a young teenager to raise a child all alone. Realizing the entire neighborhood is judging him, he decides they need a bigger apartment if Lucio is staying. The moment he mentions moving, she gets super excited, shouting that anything is better than his current tiny fish tank. If they are packing up, she demands they move into a giant castle, pointing directly at a massive luxury high-rise. He just squeezes her cheeks, reminding her she has absolutely no clue how expensive that is. With her face puffed up, she asks what happened to all that cash he earned inside the pyramid. That is when he suddenly remembers his massive stash of points. He actually has over $1 million, meaning it is totally doable. It might finally be time to upgrade. Lucio is already hyped, shouting how massive it is. Just like that, our delivery boy is shopping for luxury real estate. The place is brand new and absolutely stunning. After asking the real estate agent for details, he learns they can move in within 2 weeks. The agent keeps rambling, but Hajin Lee cuts him off to say he loves the vibe. Still, he wants to compare options. When he tells Lucio they are leaving to check other spots, she whines and asks why they cannot just stay. Scooping her up, he tells her nothing is decided yet. As they walk out, he spots a girl who looks incredibly familiar. Later on, Lucio is busy stuffing her face with more instant noodles, enjoying every single bite. She asks why he is not eating, but he is too busy staring at the contract. He is practically drooling over the fact that he bought a luxury home after just one single day of house hunting. They toured other options, but he ultimately went with that very first apartment. It was fresh, and the price was fair. Even so, his mind keeps drifting back to that mysterious girl he saw leaving the building. Suddenly, it clicks he saw her back at the Tartarus gate. She must be a hunter as well. He assumes she did not recognize him because his delivery helmet covered almost his entire face. But pay attention, because here is the real crisis. Why are there absolutely zero delivery orders coming through? Lucio claims they just finished one, but he points out that was already 2 whole days ago. She claims that is not a long wait, but he is used to getting daily orders. She warns him to stop being greedy, as avarice only leads to trouble, and he has already made a massive fortune anyway. He mutters that she was totally right until yesterday. Before purchasing the apartment, he had 19 million points ready, but the heavy down payment alone devoured 12 million of it. Factoring in the installments, new furniture, and basic living expenses for two, he realizes he went completely broke. Lucio is absolutely stunned, pointing out that his pharaoh riches could have bought a literal divine castle. He simply sighs. Central Korean real estate prices are just that brutal. When she asks what their next move is, he says they have to budget, meaning zero suites for her. Her face instantly drops, but she quickly promises to find a solution. A second later, she gets a brilliant idea and suggests they go door to door searching for gigs. After all, there is no rule stating they must sit around waiting for orders to pop up. They could easily ask Hephaestus which deities need items delivered. He ruffles her hair, admitting she is actually a little genius. However, the real issue is traveling to Olympus. She claims he goes there constantly, but our main character explains he is only summoned there when an active delivery teleports him. Lucio looks totally devastated. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to a helicopter carrying elite squads from the Young One Guild. 45 hunters have been deployed, including number 2 rank Aaron Barrick, his neighbor, and Sangjin. The leader reminds the squad that today they are tackling a freshly opened gate. They must leave past blunders behind to restore the guild's ultimate glory. Everyone roars in approval. As the helicopter ascends, the leader turns to Aaron, asking if she is absolutely positive the mysterious biker moved in next door. Relying on her incredibly sharp memory, she confirms it. She cannot be 100% sure, but the signs point directly to him. Hearing this, the guildmaster is utterly devastated. After burning massive resources searching for this legendary biker, he literally ends up living right next door to their top member. He double-checks, and she nods. At least Squad 1 has a massive lead, so they can focus on the gate. Meanwhile, Aaron realizes this must be the monster who soloed the 8-track Rams. She is practically vibrating with excitement to test her skills against him soon. Back at Hephaestus' forge, our main character arrives on foot. The workshop is completely dark and locked tight. A panicked Lucio begs him to retreat before they get obliterated for trespassing on divine ground. He tells her to relax, reminding her that she was the one who showed him this secret path. Still, she insists it is incredibly rude to invade a god's private home while they are out. He silently notes her massive hypocrisy, considering she literally called the blacksmith an old hack yesterday. Let's watch what happens next. Someone suddenly stomps on his back, demanding answers. Fortunately, it is just Hephaestus. The grumbling god asks why he is hanging around when no orders were placed. Our hero explains he is seeking a quick favor. The dwarf demands to know of his request, but our protagonist insists on presenting a gift first. He proudly pulls out a fresh bottle of Korean soju. Remembering how much the deity loved human beer during their last meeting, he figured this exotic alcohol would hit the spot. Hephaestus acts like he does not care, then immediately tells him to state the favor. Lee asks if he knows any deity who might need a delivery service. The dwarf strokes his beard and mentions a few names, but warns there is a major catch. These upcoming gigs are unbelievably dangerous, but our hero does not hesitate at all. He declares that nothing is scarier than being completely broke. Hephaestus decides the kid has the right spirit and teleports him instantly. A bright blue flash erupts, and before our hero can even ask which god they are visiting, he is dragged through space. A second later, he materializes inside a dense forest, completely lost. The gods sent him off with zero instructions. Suddenly, his system sounds a massive danger alarm. As our hero whips his head around, a glowing red eye glares from the shadows. A colossal 3-eyed demon boar charges straight at him. He prepares for impact, knowing dodging is impossible, but a stray arrow suddenly pierces the forest, striking the beast right between its eyes and dropping it instantly. Whipping around in total confusion, he wonders if the monster is actually dead. Right then, a familiar blue light emerges from the foliage, happily celebrating that they barely avoided getting turned into pancakes. He is absolutely speechless, having no clue Lucio had secretly tagged along. She explains she teleported the moment he vanished. She admits it was a close call, but praises him for slaying a legendary apex predator. Still trembling, our hero mutters that he was not the one who took it down. Suddenly, a voice behind them claims credit. He had not sensed anyone nearby, and the bizarre old man standing there makes everyone freeze. The stranger remarks on encountering a human and a nymph in these deep woods. Our protagonist keeps staring. The man has a human torso, but a horse body below. Suddenly, his phone buzzes, confirming arrival. So this eccentric old man is their actual client. He comments that visitors are extremely rare, asking who they are. The moment Lucio notices the centaur's injured leg, she pulls Lee close, claiming she recognizes him. Legendary figures like Jason, Achilles, and even the mighty Hercules, who defended Olympus against the massive giants, were all trained by this single man. This is Chiron, the ultimate mentor of heroes, but the second she utters the name Hercules, he notches an arrow, aiming directly at them. He furiously demands to know if they realize the sheer agony that name brought him. Lee frantically explains they have nothing to do with Hercules, having been sent by Hephaestus. Chiron calms down briefly, but suddenly unleashes a volley of arrows, screaming that they are mocking him. You and I need to see what happens next. You and I are jumping right into the chaos as our main character barely dodges while the forest is torn apart. Later, inside Chiron's house, they finally explain everything. Chiron finds this pretty interesting since Hephaestus wouldn't send just anyone. Still, looking at this random kid, he doesn't see a single trace of a legendary hero. Then again, he is traveling with a nymph, which is rare even for legendary champions. Meanwhile, Hyjin whispers to Lucio, wondering why the centaur still doubts them, but she's totally clueless since Chiron was supposed to be kind. Finally, Chiron decides to trust them, letting them breathe a sigh of relief. He asks if they can really retrieve any item, and when Hyjin confidently agrees, the centaur gives him a chance. Chiron hands over an empty jar, pointing toward a massive lake to the north. Hyjin needs to travel there and collect spit from the fool living nearby. Taking the container, that weird request makes him pause. Is this old centaur seriously asking him to harvest drool? Chiron nods, asking if there's an issue. Hyjin thinks this is a bizarre invasion of privacy, but agrees to get it done fast. No way, he's turning down a paying job. Chiron watches him leave, thinking the kid is a total fool for rushing ahead without any fear, though it makes a perfect test. If he actually succeeds, the next task will be the frozen mountain, a trial no mortal could ever survive. Though, Chiron doubts the boy will even make it past the starting area. Suddenly, Hyjin activates his nanosuit and blasts straight into the clouds. Chiron is left completely speechless as our main character flies off carrying Lucio. Having mastered his thrusters, he maintains top speed all the way to the mountain cave. The ascent is a breeze, and seconds later he lands right at the entrance. He powers down the suit with 32 seconds of charge remaining, while poor Lucio is so dizzy she looks ready to barf. Stepping inside, Hyjin says they just need to find that monster drool. But as they keep wandering deeper, they find absolutely nothing, and he notices Lucio is sweating bullets from pure terror. She shakily claims she is an elite high-ranking warrior who fears absolutely nothing. Suddenly, a wet droplet splats nearby. Lucio screams in panic, but Hyjin tells her to relax since it's just water. It's not like a giant beast is going to pop out. Naturally, that's when he senses heavy movement. Turning around, he faceplants into a massive 36-headed serpent, the legendary terrifying Hydra. Now, you and I know getting spit should be easy, but this beast is insanely deadly. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Chiron wonders where the kid vanished to. He figured the boy was a regular mortal, and even with weird magic, he shouldn't have reached the destination so quickly. But then, Chiron spots a massive launch crater and uses an appraisal skill to confirm the kid actually reached the cave. He prepares to leap over, though his injured leg holds him back. Still, he charges forward, sweating over the thought of the kid entering that cave, since it's the home of an immortal nightmare. Meanwhile, Hyjin forces a weak smile, fully aware his chances of survival are basically zero. A second later, he is sprinting for his life with Lucio, cursing Chiron for completely baiting them. As the massive beast scans the dark caverns, Hyjin hides behind a boulder, whispering that they just need to wait for it to sleep. But a shivering Lucio warns him she knows exactly what this creature is. This monster is the legendary Hydra, and she demands to know why he accepted such a suicidal quest. He snaps back that he wouldn't have if that lying centaur had actually told him the truth. If only he had his invisibility helmet, he'd have a shot, but he's completely exposed. Suddenly, a system window alerts him that emergency teleport services can deliver shop items directly to his coordinates. The catch? Delivery costs 5,000 points, while the actual helmet is only 800. Paying 35,000 coins for this is an absolute robbery, but his life is on the line. Survival comes first, so he grits his teeth and pays the steep fee. The gear materializes instantly, leaving Lucio totally shell-shocked. Hyjin just sighs, muttering that the only thing vanishing was his hard-earned savings. Slipping on the expensive helmet, he tells the Hydra to open wide and starts marching forward. Lucio panics, asking if he has lost his mind since the exit is in the exact opposite direction. He claims he's got this under control, but Lucio warns him that this creature is no regular beast. It is the direct child of a god, possessing venom so toxic that even Olympus itself fears it. Hyjin jokes that if Typhon is really her father, he has atrocious taste to raise a kid this hideous. Lucio tells him to shut up, since this threat is way beyond the Sphinx. He tells her to hang back at the entrance, promising he will handle things. Fuming, Lucio storms away, wishing the acid melts his face off, leaving him thinking that Curse was a bit extreme. No time to waste. With his stealth active, he sneaks right up to the sleeping giant. Even with its eyes open, it is completely out, deadly venom slowly pooling in its maw. He prepares to scoop some up, but seeing the spit melt solid stone, he realizes a regular jar will dissolve instantly. Why Chiron wants this deadly acid is beyond him, but the reward better be worth it. Suddenly, a massive tremor rattles the entire cave system, threatening to bury him alive. He has no clue what's causing the earthquake, but in his panic, he drops the jar. And now, pay attention, because things get incredibly tense. His hand lands right on the sleeping beast's eyeball, and he nearly screams out loud as those massive, terrifying pupils seem to focus directly on him. Somehow, he keeps silent, clapping a hand over his mouth to stay calm. As long as the cloak holds, he's safe. But then, a chilling voice echoes through the dark, asking who's there. The voice whispers that it smells the stench of underworld ghouls. A scent from ages ago, wondering if he came from Tartarus. Hyjin instantly realizes his stealth can't hide his scent. The voice tells him not to panic, revealing it knows about Hades' helmet. Realizing the jig is up, our boy stands frozen as the voice demands to know his business, sweat dripping down his neck. He obviously can't confess he's here to steal her spit. As the massive serpentine heads close in, one of them guesses that Hades must have sent him. The serpent heads begin arguing amongst themselves before demanding a straight answer. She warns him not to have woken her up for nothing, forcing Hyjin to quickly lie and say he only came to check on her well-being. Removing his helm, he fabricates a story about traveling all the way from Tartarus just to check on her. Caught off guard, she assumes Cerberus sent him, and the Hydra instantly believes it. Awkwardly playing along, he says Cerberus was worried after all these years. The Hydra is touched, surprised that her stubborn little brother would actually show concern for his older sister. After more than 1,000 years of silence, she never expected this. Hyjin remains on high alert, knowing this beast is highly volatile. Meanwhile, outside the cave, Lucio is frantic and sobbing. Certain that Hyjin stands zero chance against the monster, she sprints down the mountain to find backup. Along the path, she runs right into Chiron, who asks why she is all alone. She gasps that Hyjin is confronting the legendary Hydra. Chiron is floored, never expecting the kid to dive so deep. When she begs him to save him, he admits even he cannot match that beast. Lucio desperately demands a solution. Chiron regrets testing the kid instead of just sending him packing, but with a heavy sigh, he tells her to lead the way back to the cavern. When she asks if he is sure, he vows not to let the boy perish because of his games. But back inside, Hyjin is stunned to witness the Hydra transform into a human. She notes his shock is normal, explaining that being sealed away has kept her from adopting this shape. Not even her brother has witnessed this form, whom Hyjin correctly guesses is the three-headed Cerberus. The Hydra warmly asks how her baby brother is doing, missing him deeply. Hyjin quickly assures her that Cerberus is living well, eating 3 square meals, working hard, and enjoying life. Naturally, he keeps quiet about Cerberus being a house pet. She smiles in relief, and that's where we leave them, with him awkwardly trying to run away while he still can. All right, stick with me because we are jumping right into a moment where our main character freezes dead in his tracks. This giant beast orders him to stop, insisting no visitor of her little brother leaves empty-handed. He stiffly turns, stammering that it really is not necessary. Too late, she flicks her tongue, completely ignoring his protests. Turning around, she orders him to pluck a strangely colored scale right off her back. He hesitates, wondering why she is offering this. She tells him to relax, explaining her scales hold powerful magic for his journey. Realizing it is just like the mystical hairs Sun Wukong gave him, he is instantly sold. There is no way he is passing up a legendary buff like this. Terrified her gaze might turn him to stone, he quickly activates his suit for a brief split second and rips the scale right off. But that suit is terrible for short bursts, sending him crashing hard. He grins with the crystal scale in hand, but the massive Hydra is definitely not amused, noting that he has gotten incredibly bold. So bold, she might just have to test him. That definitely sounds like a threat. Hagen scrambles to his feet, swearing it was a complete accident, while Chiron stands there shaking, unable to believe his eyes. The old centaur yells, asking if the kid actually defeated the Hydra. On the sensor screen, the main character radiates pure power, while the giant beast lies collapsed on the cavern floor. Lucio leaps off Chiron's back and hugs Hagen, crying that she's just happy he survived. He glares, reminding her he told her to wait outside where it was safe. She just pouts, acting completely terrified. While they bicker, Chiron is stunned that a mere human overcame the Hydra feat even Hercules struggled with. This kid is truly special. Turning away, Hagen apologizes to the great beast for the loud commotion. She waves it off, asking if the young nymph belongs to him. He quickly denies it, calling her a pest from the neighborhood. The Hydra just smiles, finding their chaotic dynamic rather amusing. She turns her gaze to Chiron, noting it has been ages. He has grown old. Perhaps time finally conquered his immortal body, or her ancient venom wore him down. Hagen watches them, highly confused by their history. Lucio giggles and calls him clueless. Their tragic tale is legendary. It involves Hercules, an arrow dripping with Hydra venom, and the loss of Chiron's immortality. Officially, they say it was just an accident. Now, watch closely, because this history runs deep. During that brutal battle, centaurs fell everywhere, and Chiron was struck by a poisoned arrow. But was it an accident, or karma for mentoring a monster like Hercules? Standing before Zeus and the lords of Olympus, Chiron the Wise was asked if he truly wanted to surrender his eternal life. Kneeling in agony, he begged Zeus to take it, as the pain was unbearable. Zeus hesitated, then granted the request. To honor him for training mankind's greatest heroes, Zeus promised Chiron a place among the stars as a constellation. When Chiron asked what that meant, Zeus simply replied, "You will not die. One day, you will understand." The centaur wanted to object, but the decree was absolute. That very day, Chiron the Wise ceased to exist, reborn as a divine being, the commander of Sagittarius. From that moment on, he was Chiron the Mythic. Back in the present, the Hydra notes her venom is a death sentence to any living creature, making his survival highly impressive. He must be burning through his entire reserve of mythic power just to stand. Chiron, visibly suffering, snaps that her tongue is as sharp as ever, threatening to slice it off. She just smirks, firing right back. He used to be so gentle back in the day. She then turns to our protagonist, asking if his name is Hagen. He nods, trying to process these legendary secrets, when a sudden flash of light blinds the entire cave. The Hydra reveals a small vial, admitting she knew he came for her legendary saliva on Chiron's orders. Our hero asks if she knew all along. She laughs, saying of course she did. He smelled exactly like Chiron. She tells Chiron to come claim his prize. He hesitates, asking what she demands in return, knowing she never gives free favors. The Hydra sighs, complaining that everyone paints her as the villain, even though she never poisoned him. That was all Hercules. Hagen is completely blown away. This rewrites the entire ancient myth, and he is left standing there, absolutely speechless. Offering the vial, she says she has waited centuries for him to finally claim it. Chiron hesitates, takes the medicine, and downs it in one gulp. But wait, his body immediately erupts in a burning, violent spasm. You probably feel just as panicked as I do right now. The poison surges, his vision blurs, and he collapses. Hagen screams, demanding to know what she did, but then he hears sudden, booming laughter. Chiron is on the floor, weeping with pure joy because his leg finally feels normal. For 3,890 years, he lived in constant agony within this mythical realm. He had completely forgotten what a life free of pain even felt like. The Hydra gently pats his shoulder, sympathizing with his long suffering, while Hagen and Lucio rush over to check on him. Later, back at Chiron's cabin, they wait impatiently for the old centaur. Hagen starts grumbling about the delay, but Lucio quickly tells him to stop bad-mouthing an honest legendary figure. He deflates, realizing he might not even get paid since the Hydra handed over the saliva herself. Having no real argument, he sighs, just as Chiron finally opens the door, apologizing deeply for the long wait. Chiron explains it took longer than expected to locate the proper reward. Hagen is about to whine, but Lucio shuts him up, smiling and asking if he was searching for his famous bow. Chiron nods in agreement. The bow was originally meant for Hercules, but Chiron believes it suits Hagen far better. Being a total idiot, our boy silently grumbles that he would prefer raw points, thinking Chiron is terrible at giving rewards. Assuming it is just some low-tier weapon, he accepts it anyway. Suddenly, the front door swings wide open. Both of them demand to know who is there as a strange man steps inside, apologizing for barging in. Lucio gasps in recognition, and man, that giant sword makes his entrance look incredibly cool. It is Ares, the legendary god of war. Still clueless, Hagen whispers that he only knows this guy as Olympus's absolute worst troublemaker. Lucio frantically warns him to shut his mouth. Ares is the prince of Olympus, the direct son of Zeus and Hera. Ares remarks how unusual it is to see a mortal with a nymph, asking if he is Hagen Lee. Without warning, Ares charges forward, shouting that he has finally found him. Hagen cannot even react in time, but instead of attacking, Ares drops straight to his knees, begging for help, leaving our hero utterly baffled. At age 27, Hagen Lee became the first mortal to treat a god to dinner. Later, aboard a speeding train, Lucio marvels at how incredibly fast this metal car is. Hagen shushes her, reminding her it is a train. Our main character is totally exhausted, having literally just completed one insane quest only to get dragged into another. Suddenly, his phone buzzes with a notification minus 100,000 coins plus a massive bonus. All his fatigue vanishes instantly until an angry passenger tells them to keep it down. Lucio giggles, but he does not care. He just made $1.5 million. The real problem? An urgent quest to save Ares' hunter in 5 hours. Rewinding a bit, Hagen asks what this crazy job is actually about. Ares explains he sponsored a promising hunter, but according to the system, the man is scheduled to die this very day. Hagen asks why the literal god of war cannot handle it himself. Lucio chimed in, stating that would violate the laws of causality. Chiron adds that divine beings are forbidden from interfering with mortal destiny, even gods cannot fight fate. But Ares insists this situation is different. He cannot let his sponsored hunter perish because he wagered absolutely everything on him. In this system, gods can invest points directly into myth-tier hunters to make them overpowered. The more famous a hunter becomes, the more dividends the sponsoring god receives. But if that hunter dies mid-mission, the god loses every single point they put in. Chiron calls him completely mental for gambling everything on one person. Ares is a straight-up betting addict, shaking as he begs for help. He did not just blow his own points, he secretly wagered his father's stash, too. Hagen and Lucio freeze in horror. If Ares used his father's points, he just gambled away Zeus's entire divine fortune. Back on the train, our main character grumbles that he is not some miracle worker. How is he supposed to babysit a hunter with god-tier talent? Still, with Ares paying top dollar, the reward should be massive. Lucio asks where they are headed, and he reveals their tickets to Busan. And trust me, you and I are about to see absolute chaos. Inside a cave littered with monster corpses, Song Jin yells for the guild to brace themselves. A massive wave is rushing in, but he prepares to tear them apart like nothing. We are jumping straight into the action with our hero shredding high-level monsters like they are nothing. But even as they fall, the next wave keeps rushing in. His future girlfriend, Tammy, is right there beside him, carving up beasts like a total pro. When Tam Jin asks for an update, she reports the rear cave is clear, letting the exhausted team finally sit down and rest. The commander asks about the final boss, and they estimate reaching the massive gate soon. Sure, it was a brutal struggle, but clearing this dungeon in half the usual time is seriously impressive. Tam Jin points out that even rank 6 hunters had to flee, proving this threat is absolutely insane. A teammate adds it is a 10-meter monstrosity. They are already running on fumes before the real fight even starts. Tam Jin commends their smart retreat to call for backup. Standing up, he rallies the squad to keep moving so they can finally head home. Soon, they stand before the massive door, knowing the threat awaits inside. The massive doors slowly slide open, and Tam Jin orders the heavy tanks to lead the charge. On the other side lies a gargantuan cavern, but there is a major problem. It is completely empty, leaving everyone utterly baffled. They are positive this is the right chamber. Suddenly, wet droplets hit Erin's shoulder. Confused by the falling liquid, she glances upward, her expression instantly twisting in horror as she shrieks at the squad to run. It is too late. A torrential downpour of toxic purple slime crashes down. Tam Jin screams in panic as his allies are pulled into the air. He glares at their guide, furious that nothing matches the intel they were given. The guide begins to tremble. Suddenly, grotesque tentacles burst straight out of his mouth as he mutters that he delivered everything his mother requested. The horrifying truth hits. It was a setup. Clinging to the ceiling is a colossal, eye-covered jelly beast reaching down with its slimy appendages. Meanwhile, over on a sunny beach, Hagen and Lucio stare at the glowing gate he must enter for a rescue mission. I mean, you and I both know exactly who he is rescuing here. The annoyed Lucio demands to join him, but he tells her to stay focused. This gate is the second largest after Tartarus. He knows she is upset because he almost died yesterday, but there is only one helmet. Suddenly, he gets an idea and offers her cash to buy all the sweets she wants. Lucio slaps the cash away, declaring she cannot be easily bought. He sighs and points out that the money could purchase 50 whole pieces of candy. Instantly, her stubborn expression melts as she does the math. While she is busy daydreaming about sugar, he steps through the portal, reminding her to chase off any nosy strangers. Following a sudden blinding flash, he materializes inside a dark, damp cavern dungeon. Our boy squishes his boot on something absolutely disgusting, grumbling in annoyance. But then he spots a massive pile of slain beasts ahead. He finally understands their distress call. There are just too many of them. The real kicker is that he has to fight his way through this entire endless wave. His high-tech bike would make this a breeze, but his armored suit is still on a cooldown. 10 seconds in, and he is out of options. Suddenly, his system shop interface appears, offering emergency purchases. He gets excited for a split second, until he sees summoning his bike costs 100,000 points. What vehicle on Earth is worth $1 billion? While he is complaining, a voice from behind startles him, causing him to accidentally press purchase. It is Lucio. She smugly explains she was not about to let him have all the fun alone. Just like that, 100,000 hard-earned points vanish. He demands to know why she is here since he explicitly forbade her from entering. Stubborn to the core, Lucio simply retorts that she told him she was tagging along anyway. Hagen prepares to yell at her when a bright light erupts nearby. Lucio points, and out of the glow materializes his heavy motorcycle. Except, this is not his regular ride. It is a brand new model. He is instantly thrilled, which is great because a massive pack of creatures is charging right at them. He pulls Lucio onto the back seat and guns the throttle. Meanwhile, back in the boss room, toxic slime rains down. And let's pause here. Songjin realizes this entire layout was a setup with everyone trapped in slime tentacles. While he frantically searches for a rescue plan, death rains down from above. Slicing through the air with a flurry of blade strikes, he narrowly evades the direct hit. But with projectiles coming from every angle, he is running out of room. How do you defeat an enemy clinging to the ceiling? The mission details were completely wrong. Even worse, he has never encountered a beast capable of controlling human minds. If this anomaly escapes the dungeon depths, the outside world is doomed to absolute chaos. He must put it down right now. Inside a nearby appendage, Irina floats completely limp, but her eyes suddenly snap open. With a blinding burst of sword strikes, she tears herself free, bringing Songjin rushing to her side. He asks if she can fight, and though she is nearing her absolute limit, she nods. They must defeat this giant blob immediately to free their comrades. She charges in to draw its aggro. The slime monster lashes out, but she expertly dances through the strikes to plunge her twin daggers deep. This strike creates the perfect opening for Songjin. He unleashes the divine magic of Ares, calling down Mars as punishment. Eldritch energy erupts into a massive column of raging fire, entirely engulfing the giant monster. Feeling completely drained, he falls back. This was a legendary mythic class spell, so the creature should be incinerated. It is the ultimate move that earned him his guild master rank, and nothing has ever survived it. But unfortunately, this boss is still breathing. Otherwise, our main character would have nothing to rescue, and that massive, creepy eyeball wouldn't be staring back. The shock leader cannot accept that the boss survived, but Eren screams for him to snap out of it and move. Instead, he just mutters an apology and completely locks up. As the enemy prepares its counterattack, he laments his lack of power to save his friends in a melodramatic speech. The giant eyeball swells, ready to vaporize him, when suddenly, a heavy motorcycle crashes right through it. Our main character grins, announcing that their package has arrived. Both Songjin and Eren stand frozen, totally dumbfounded. Meanwhile, Hagen is quietly crying over his brand new, expensive bike getting covered in gross slime, though the entrance was epic. Peering through the rising dust, the hunters try to process why a biker just crashed their high-rank raid. Then, a figure steps up, complaining about how uncreative humans are at naming things. Lucio, striking a dramatic pose, proudly announces she is the main pilot. The battle-hardened veterans just stare in utter confusion at this weird little kid. She continues posing heroically, telling them not to be intimidated by her incredible presence, but her boast is cut short as the possessed scout creeps up right behind her. She genuinely believes her legendary racing career is over, but Hagen lunges forward, ripping the parasitic monster clean out of the host's throat. Disgusted, he tosses it aside, while the freed survivor immediately passes out in Lucio's tiny arms. Hagen catches a sudden glint and spins around, seeing the creature still twitching despite having its central eye obliterated. He realizes this is indeed the true threat of the cavern. It seems his timing was perfect. He casually asks which of them is Songjin Park. Stepping forward, the battered leader confirms his identity. Our hero strolls over, circling him to check if he is missing any limbs. Hagen muses that the guy looks familiar, suddenly remembering they crossed paths back in Tartarus. He notes what a small world it is, which causes Songjin to snap, shouting at him to help finish the boss. Hagen simply shrugs, asking why he should care. Fighting beasts is a hunter's job, whereas he is merely a delivery courier. Besides, his advanced suit is still cooling down, making him pretty useless right now. Hearing this, Aaron's gaze turns ice cold, scolding him for playing with human lives during a crisis. He tells her to calm down, explaining that Sungjin deserves the honor of landing the final blow. Naturally, Sungjin thinks the courier is insane since his weapon is destroyed and his mana is depleted. But then Hagen casually retrieves his phone, announcing that his legendary package has officially arrived. A blinding aura floods the entire cavern, forcing both Sungjin and Aaron to shield their eyes as they squint through the glare. Sungjin's jaw drops as a magnificent greatsword materializes, a mythical blade known to legends as the Ender of Wars. Our hero turns on his heel to exit, but the stunned swordsman demands to know who ordered this weapon. Hagen turns back with a glowing hand, calling himself the Divine Delivery Man. He rides off, and trust me, you and I cannot wait to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are jumping right back in as Sungjin stands there totally confused by this lunatic. Meanwhile, the boss charges another attack, leaving him with one choice: grab that sword, his absolute last shot. The exact moment he touches the blade, explosive crimson energy erupts, and an overwhelming power floods his body. For a split second, his entire form shifts, fully awakening into Ares' legendary mythic state. Aaron can only watch in absolute awe as raw power radiates off him. Even with the boss preparing its ultimate strike, Sungjin remains incredibly calm and focused. Readying his weapon, he realizes he can actually win this fight. Unleashing Ares' divine energy, his sword swells to a massive size and erupts in roaring flames. He swings, unleashing a devastating slash, while the boss counters with an attack of its own. It's an epic, classic clash. Sure, he might not be a typical anime main character, but his strike completely crushes and vaporizes the monster anyway. The sheer impact carves a giant X through the air, illuminating the entire cavern. As the smoke clears, Aaron stands there completely stunned. Sungjin didn't just destroy the boss, he literally blew the entire cavern ceiling apart. Talk about overpowered. Luckily, that temporary godhood is finally fading away. Catching the unconscious hunter, Aaron whispers that he did an incredible job, though she is secretly far more curious about that mysterious biker delivery kid. Meanwhile, back in the city, our starving hero just wants lunch. Hey, even a god-level delivery guy needs a lunch break. Meanwhile, the news is already broadcasting that the Hanam Bay City dungeon has been cleared, giving all the credit to the nation's top hunter, Sungjin Park. Resting in his hospital bed, Sungjin sighs, listening to the endless media hype. He knows the truth, though without that mysterious delivery guy, he wouldn't even be alive right now. Staring off to the side, he starts putting the pieces together. No ordinary person just hands out literal divine artifacts like candy. Right then, footsteps come echoing frantically down the hospital hallway. Dorian bursts through the door, screaming for the guildmaster and asking if he is alright. But seeing Sungjin looking completely fine, he calms down, before immediately hyping up how the kid totally obliterated the boss monster. No wonder he is ranked as the third strongest hunter. Dorian then asks about that glowing crimson sword and what happened to the old one. Sungjin calmly explains it broke, leaving Dorian speechless. How do you break a weapon worth 100 billion? But Sungjin tells him to relax because his replacement is 10 times better, a divine package from that legendary delivery guy. Dorian literally begins drooling. Now pay attention to this part, because the boss wants to recruit this mystery delivery guy into his guild. Meanwhile, over at Ares' temple, the god of war is grinning, knowing the sword was finally delivered. Ares walks into his grand hall with a confident grin, already knowing the kid returned safely and must have handed over the sword. Our legendary courier confirms everything went exactly according to the plan. The courier assures him the delivery went flawlessly and the hunter made it out alive. Ares chuckles, noting he expected nothing less from someone with his reputation. He then invites him inside to receive a proper reward. Our boy smirked, thinking there was no way he would fall for a cheap scheme from Olympus' primary troublemaker. Meanwhile, Lucio scolds him to show proper respect to a literal Olympian prince. Hearing that, Hagen Lee suddenly remembers, oh right, this guy is actually royalty. As they walk through the vast temple, our boy looks around in awe, until Ares stops and instructs Lucio to wait. Only Hagen Lee is allowed to accompany him. Left without a single explanation, our boy simply waves goodbye as they walk deeper into the sacred halls, where Hagen suddenly gasps in shock. Standing before a massive door, Ares boasts that it weighs 3 tons. Our boy asks how they are even supposed to open this anime-looking gate, and Ares just says, use muscle, before swinging it wide open. Beyond the threshold lies an unbelievable mountain of gold. Everything here belongs directly to the war god himself. Naturally, our greedy courier immediately asks how much it's all worth and if he can grab a souvenir. You would expect Ares to be a total cheapskate, but he actually tells him to choose whatever he wants. Crouching down, he whispers that he has something perfect and retrieves a mysterious golden box. Hagen Lee asks what's inside, but Ares admits he has no clue either. Confused, our boy asks why he is gifting it then. Ares explains that even to a god, it's a rare collectible. He might not know its exact purpose, but he is sure it isn't garbage. It originally belonged to a supreme god of Olympus, who called it his most prized possession. Ares is just as curious, making it a great reward. You and I both know legendary treasures are usually epic, right? Well, Hagen looks totally disappointed, calls it trash, and pulls out a tiny wooden stick. Talk about a letdown. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the vast open ocean where a massive vessel sails, until a frantic sailor screams that they have got a major problem. They have crossed paths with a pack of deadly sirens. Poor Jason is on the verge of falling under their hypnotic spell. Suddenly, we flash back to our boy hilariously smacking Ares with that stick before he finally wakes up at home. His entire body feels completely drained, having slept for what feels like ages. After bringing home that bizarre stick, he collapsed on his bed and now wakes up to Lucio sleep talking about delicious candy. He tells the little kid to wake up, but realizes she is totally exhausted too. So, he gently tucks her in with a warm blanket. Later, while buying an energy drink and chocolate at the local store, he notices a flyer on the wall. The official hunter exam is in 3 days. He never wanted to be a hunter, but keeping his secret identity safe while entering dungeons is becoming impossible. Back at his apartment, Lucio immediately begs for her treats. He hands over the snacks, but a sudden system notification rings out. It's an urgent request from Hephaestus, telling Lucio they will eat later. He hops on his upgraded motorbike, arriving at a scorching forge to greet the dwarf deity. The blacksmith god is thrilled with his fast response time, prompting our boy to ask what the job is. Hephaestus explains everyone is gossiping about how he cured Chiron and assisted Hagen. Hagen feels a bit embarrassed, surprised that rumors traveled so fast, and brushes it off as pure luck. When he asks about today's cargo, the dwarf god looks back as a tall stranger approaches, declaring the timing is ideal. Lucio looks stunned the moment she recognizes him, while Hagen remains completely clueless. The blacksmith god introduces him as the fastest courier on the high seas, Jason, the leader of Argo deliveries. And honestly, just like Hagen, I had zero clue who this guy was. After a quick look-up, turns out he is the legendary mythological sailor of the Argonauts. Guess Greek mythology is full of surprises, but you get the vibe. He proudly introduces himself, telling our boy to address him as the ultimate adventurer. He runs the famous crew of sailors and heroes known worldwide as the Argonauts. He expresses his deepest gratitude to Hagen for saving his adoptive father's leg. Ready to talk business, Hagen agrees, prompting Jason to explain that his shipping company is in massive trouble. A flock of sirens has completely blocked their main shipping route, stopping all transport. Usually, their musician friend Orpheus would soothe them, but since he is away on a long journey, they are totally helpless, which is why he sought out the legendary delivery master, Hagen Lee. When asked if he wants him to fight sirens, Jason nods eagerly. Our boy is left questioning if he is a simple courier or a full-time monster slayer. Seriously, why does everyone treat him like an assassin? But Jason tells him to wait until he hears the payment, a staggering 500,000 points. For that kind of cash, Hagen is immediately on board. But Hephaestus points out a slight complication: sirens live in the deep ocean, which is pretty tricky to navigate on a standard motorcycle. Our delivery guy is completely thrown off, having totally forgotten that ocean monsters usually live in the water. But he quickly reassures the god he has the perfect magic ready, as they set sail for the Melodic Isles. With the islands finally in sight, Hagen prepares to disembark. Jason thanks him, promising to send a rescue boat once the job is finished. Our boy leaps off the deck, revs his engine, and calls for Lucio. Wait, is he really riding a bike on water? So, is that bike amphibious? Not quite. Hephaestus infused his gear with water magic so he can literally ride across the ocean. But as we leave off, Lucio warns him he has no idea what sirens can really do. All right, you and I are diving into a wild story where our guy is picturing cute mermaids, but they are actually deadly. Even a small pack can shred a massive kraken. Hagen tells her not to sweat it. When monsters get violent, you just gotta beat them down. Meanwhile, the sirens spot a human and a nymph approaching. The beasts dive underwater to ambush him, but our boy just keeps riding ahead. Suddenly, Lucio warns him, and a massive monster erupts from the waves, jaws wide open. Before it can bite, Hagen smacks it right in the face with a wooden stick. He recalls Ares hyping up this legendary gift from Zeus, So he asks the siren how it feels to get hit by a plus 99 enchanted stick. The siren just stares, completely unfazed. She tells him it felt like a tap from a foam pool noodle. That is when Hagen realizes Ares totally scammed him. This stick is useless. Later, the sirens hunt around, trying to find where they vanished. Hiding behind a rock, with Lucio's stealth helmet active, he asks what she sees. Luckily, they went the other way. But right in front of them lies the siren's nest. He remembers Jason's advice: don't fight the mob. Just take out the queen. Once she goes down, the others lose their powers. Lucio calls him crazy, especially with that useless stick. Hagen really wants to trash Ares, but he still has one last trick up his sleeve: the shop, because money solves everything. He buys a golden orb of Zeus's thunder. Yeah, it cost a massive 150,000 points, about $1.5 million. Inside the lair, the queen is chilling, while her hungry subordinates beg to go hunt. Orpheus, the guy who usually ruins their plans, is gone. This is their golden opportunity. They will wait for a massive human ship to sail by, then strike. Now pay attention, because our boy hears every single word of this. He is completely shocked that she's casually plotting to massacre an entire ship full of innocent people. Lucio points out that their target is definitely Jason's crew, but then Hagen randomly asks if she remembers that delicious black ramen they had, and she totally agrees it was epic. He promises to buy her the deluxe version if she helps him out. She instantly brightens up, ready for action. He leans in close and whispers his master plan. She warns him it is way too risky, but he takes off the helmet and slides it onto her head. He trusts her completely, so she flies off, promising not to fail. Since the helmet has a short range, he's fully exposed. He shouts at them, calling them a bunch of dumb fish. The deadly beauties turn around, absolutely stunned that a human managed to infiltrate their sacred temple. He literally turns around, slaps his own butt, and dares them to take him out. The queen is furious and orders his capture. He runs for his life, but without the helmet, his water mobility is draining fast. He calls for Lucio, who is right on his back, clutching the explosive divine orb. He triggers it, yells goodbye, and the one-use item completely obliterates the entire temple. The chasing sirens get buried as the whole place caves in. He only planned to assassinate the queen, but being in a rush forced a total wipeout. Well, at least Jason's route is safe. Lucio cheers him on, but Hagen feels like something is wrong. If the boss is dead, where is his reward? Suddenly, a massive hand erupts from the rubble and grabs Lucio's leg. The furious queen demands to know what they have done, realizing all her daughters are dead. Hagen panics as Lucio is about to be swallowed whole. He activates stage 2 of his suit and charges. He socks the queen right in the face, screaming at her to drop his partner. The massive impact sends her spinning. He is blown away by stage 2's insane power, but suddenly, she vanishes. I know what you're thinking, this is bad. She blindsides him underwater and drags him into the pitch-black abyss, mocking him as his oxygen slowly runs out. Hagen genuinely thinks this might be it. He just bought his first apartment and has way too many points left to spend. There is no way he's dying here. Time to crush this boss. His massive club overloads at 100% output. He slams it into her skull, leaving her completely dazed, before unleashing a brutal combo straight to her face. The massive explosion of violence completely illuminates the ocean, leaving Lucio absolutely stunned. Standing tall with his giant club, he declares justice served. Later, we find them celebrating at a cozy Chinese restaurant. She loves the expensive food, and he is just happy she is enjoying it. He promises to buy her whatever she wants from now on. Things were close, but thanks to her, they made it out alive. Naturally, he still brags about landing the final blows on the queen. He tells her to eat up since she totally earned this feast. After all, his balance is sitting at 633,000 points, around $6 million. Even after buying Zoo's power, he made a killer profit. Now he's genuinely curious about taking the hunter exam. Lucio asks what an exam is, and he jokes that it is just fried pork, telling her to dip it. She thinks it is amazing, so he happily lets her have the entire plate. Too lazy to dip, she just dumps all the sauce over it, earning a swift bonk on the head for her terrible manners. Later, they finally head home completely exhausted. She stuffed her face, and he tells her she overdid it. After working non-stop, he is ready to take a nice, long break. But suddenly, the doorbell rings and a voice calls out. He drags his tired body to the door. Standing there is a weird guy in a mask and sunglasses asking for Hagen Lee. Our boy immediately assumes he is a creep and slams it shut. The stranger keeps pounding, making Hagen super annoyed. What kind of door-to-door solicitor knows your full name? When Lucio asks who it is, he just says it is a pushy salesman. Outside, the guy keeps shouting that he knows Hagen is the divine courier. Exposed, our main character opens the door only to find Sungjin holding a massive sword. When asked why he is there, Sungjin smiles. He wants to recruit him into the Yang One Guild. Later at a local cafe, Seongjin hands over a fat reward as a thank you for helping out during their last mission. Hagen checks his balance 500,000 points. Easy money. He smugly says he didn't need to pay that much, but Seongjin tells him to relax so they can talk business. Joining the guild means a 200,000 signing bonus plus 300,000 a year, with extra performance pay. Seongjin asks for his thoughts, confident no hunter would refuse this deal. Remember, Doyoon told him Hagen doesn't even have a hunter license. Yet, he was doing deliveries in Tartarus, beat the 8 trigrams, and survived another crazy dungeon. The kid is a complete anomaly. Licensed or not, recruiting him would make the guild filthy rich. Seongjin is totally pumped up to make the pitch, until our boy politely apologizes and tells him he is going to decline. The guy was already celebrating like it was a done deal, but Hagen firmly tells him no way. Outside, Seongjin desperately tries to negotiate, but our guy has absolutely zero interest in guild life. When asked what could possibly be better than a massive contract, Hagen just holds up his phone and says the answer is simple deliveries. The second he accepts a job, a blinding flash of light leaves Seongjin alone. Next, they are high up in the mountains, where Lucio points out he was supposed to be resting today. Drenched in sweat, he sighs that this was definitely not the plan. He had no idea the client lived on a literal peak. Usually, teleportation drops him right at their feet, but this time he got dumped at the bottom. He totally blames Seongjin for wasting his energy on that stupid recruitment pitch when he had no interest. His suits have cooldowns, he has no powers, but delivery work pays way better anyway. Once they finally reach the summit completely exhausted, his face suddenly goes dead serious. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. Stick with me here, you and I are about to see this ordinary delivery guy face down some giant, eye-covered black slimes. He has no clue what they are, and his partner, Lucio, is just as clueless, but stepping on one brings back some nasty dungeon memories. He asks if she recognizes these mythical beasts, but she is blank. Just as she starts to guess, the entire cavern begins to tremble. An absolute monster looms behind him, making him think it is game over. But suddenly, a golden streak blitzes in and obliterates it with a single punch. Shaken, our boy hears the guy complain about getting too old. The battle-scarred warrior sighs about his aging body, speaks into a radio, and mentions he has heard plenty about the kid. Our main character is totally stunned by the absolute legend standing before him. Is this really their client? He whispers to Lucio, asking who this guy is. She cannot believe he does not know. This is the mythical hero who finished the 12 labors of Hera and helped defeat the giants, the legendary Hercules himself. Blushing, the hero admits those old tales embarrass him. That is when our boy realizes this is the same warrior who shot Chiron with a poisoned arrow. Hercules asks if he is the healer who saved Chiron. Awkwardly, he admits, the Hydra poison did most of the heavy lifting. Hercules laughs and slaps his back, nearly shattering his suit, while thanking him anyway. Lucio was completely right about his identity. He is Hercules, the legendary demigod now serving as Olympus' protector. Skipping the long, dramatic introductions, our duo shares their names. The demigod gets straight to the point. He needs their professional help. When they ask for details, he points toward a nearby cave. Ever since the giant invasion, that dark cavern has acted as an active portal for beasts invading Olympus. Recently, bizarre tentacle monsters have been crawling out, and Hercules has never seen anything like them. He suspects they are from an alien realm, which makes our main character link them to his dungeon encounter. The job is simple: track down the source of these beasts. Now pay attention, because a sudden mission window pops up with a strict 24-hour limit. Fail or forfeit, and he loses 200,000 coins. Seriously. But after glancing at Hercules' massive, godlike muscles, he quickly promises to solve this case instantly. The demigod smiles, mentioning he is just like Abby described. Our boy suddenly remembers Abby was the very first goddess he ever made a delivery to. He starts realizing how insanely intertwined all these mythical figures really are. Suddenly, the system offers guidance, but the map looks completely broken. He stares blankly at a sheer cliff and wonders how he is supposed to climb it. Hercules grabs him, telling him not to worry since he has a fast travel method. Before the boy can even object, he is launched like a missile. Meanwhile, back at the guild, Doyoon bursts in looking for the boss. The guild master tells him to stop kicking the door down, but Doyoon immediately asks about the delivery boy. Sangjin sighs and admits it was a flat rejection. The kid did not even care to listen. Doyoon finds that bizarre since the contract was a total life changer, but Sang-jin explains the target literally vanished into thin air. Do-yoon thinks that sounds like a cheap lie, but the leader disagrees. Remember, Hagen popped into that dungeon the exact same way. Plus, Sang-jin received a direct message from Ares confirming the delivery. Knowing this, the master decides he is going to recruit the kid no matter what. Meanwhile, the boss is just chillin' and playing video games. Do-yoon notices his legendary sword still looks pristine. Apparently, after getting his hands on Ares' blade, Sang-jin sold his previous weapon for a massive fortune. He hoped to use those funds to bribe our main character, but that plan fell flat. Do-yoon then shares some urgent news: a high-profile buyer from Japan is eager to purchase the weapon. The leader says it is time to prep the shipment. Lately, high-value goods are getting hijacked mid-transit, and this sword is far too precious to lose. While brainstorming a bodyguard, he suddenly remembers the ultimate courier boy they just met. Grinning, the guildmaster cooks up a perfect plan. Meanwhile, our protagonist is screaming as he plummets through the air. He is spinning out of control, cursing Hercules for launching him like a human cannonball. Let's pause right here. This looks like certain death. Terrified of shattering his bones, he summons his motorcycle midair. Clinging to his bike, Duke, he hurtles downward and crashes violently. Heavy smoke billows, but the motorcycle's insane shock absorbers somehow save his life. He knows that premium gear is the only reason they did not turn into paste. He shakes a completely unconscious Lucio, telling her to wake up. But now they have a brand new issue. He has absolutely no clue what they are searching for. He starts grumbling about hunting down an enemy with no name. Suddenly, a colossal foot stomps right onto his back, shaking the entire valley. A terrified Lucio clings to his leg, trying to process the chaos. He instantly recognizes this earthquake from his battle with the dungeon boss. Then, a booming voice calls out Hercules' name. Looking back, he spots a massive figure bearing an impossibly heavy load on his shoulders. If his myth history is correct, this is Atlas. The giant absolutely dwarfs him, and our hero cannot believe his eyes. Atlas demands to know his connection to Hercules. Trembling under the crushing aura, the boy explains he was hired for a simple investigation. But the moment he brings up the slimes, Atlas bursts into deep laughter. Supporting a glowing celestial sphere, Atlas mocks Hercules for sending a weakling to do his dirty work. But our protagonist demands some real answers. Why is a literal titan hiding here? And what is up with that glowing orb? He boldly asks if Atlas has any inside info. The titan scoffs, saying he has zero reason to help Hercules. Confused, he whispers to Lucio, asking why this giant is so salty, leaving her completely dumbfounded. This is Atlas, the legendary titan condemned to hold up the heavens after losing the Great War. And guess who ordered that punishment? Zeus, Hercules' own father. So yeah, that explains the massive grudge. He groans, wishing Hercules had warned him about this divine family drama. Atlas asks if they are done whispering, shocking our boy, who did not realize the giant could hear him. Atlas grunts, stating the terrestrial beasts have nothing to do with him. Now, Heijin is dragged into another god-tier crisis when he only wanted to deliver packages and make some easy cash. Desperate, he tries using his charms, asking if the Titan could really reject his cute face. Atlas snaps, telling him to shut his mouth before he squashes him. But our courier refuses to back down. He offers a trade, promising to do any favor in exchange for the truth. This proposal catches the Titan off guard, while Lucio panics at his sheer recklessness. Atlas laughs boomingly, pointing out how ridiculous it is to think a mere mortal could do a favor for a deity. But our protagonist smiles, telling him he might be surprised. The Titan contemplates and agrees, admiring the mortal's sheer audacity. His demand? A legendary golden apple. If he can fetch one and survive, Atlas will reveal exactly what the slimes are plotting. Lucio immediately warns him to decline because it is impossible. Golden apples are extremely scarce treasures grown on Gaia's divine trees, usually reserved as wedding presents for the highest gods. Before she can ramble further, he covers her mouth and confidently asks Atlas if that is his only condition. He remembers that Atlas is technically a titan, not a god. Atlas nods and gives his word, but our boy takes it a step further, demanding Atlas swear by the river Styx. Mythologically, if a deity breaks an oath sworn on those waters, they temporarily lose all of their power. Amused by his caution, Atlas smirks and offers a pinky promise, officially swearing on the river Styx. Our boy quickly whips out his phone. Since a golden apple only costs 1,000 points in his shop system, the Titan has already lost this bet. He purchases the fruit from his interface, and a glittering golden apple materializes in his hand. Handing it over instantly, he declares that his order has been fulfilled. Atlas just stares, completely paralyzed with shock at this cheat code of a human. Meanwhile, outside the cavern, purple slimes are swarming, Hercules keeps crushing them, wondering what is taking our duo so long. Suddenly, a scary thought strikes him. Did he forget to mention Atlas? He dismisses the worry, hoping they will survive. Right then, a blue light flashes in the distance as someone approaches at extreme speeds. It is our courier, blasting through the sky as his futuristic suit integrates with his motorcycle. He arrives so fast that Hercules prepares to congratulate him, right before a motorcycle tire smashes into his divine face. Yes, he literally just ran over a god. He stands there looking guilty, though it definitely feels like sweet revenge for getting thrown earlier. Soon after, he is bowing deeply, claiming it was a total accident. Hercules laughs it off, claiming a human could never hurt him. But our boy points out his bleeding nose says otherwise, and that's where we leave them, with Hercules insisting he is fine, even with a broken finger. Crossing his arms, Hercules scoffs that Hajin returned far too quickly to learn anything. Surely, that entire journey was just a complete waste of time. He remembers how furious Atlas must still be about those stolen golden apples, which is pretty cruel since the guy cannot even put his heavy burden down. So, because Hajin actually tried, he decides to spare him any punishment. That is, until our boy casually drops a bomb. Atlas spilled everything. Hercules laughs it off, but wait for it, the kid reaches back and pulls out a golden apple, proving how he got the giant talking. Now we flash back to the cave, right when Hajin pulled out that apple. A stunned Atlas demands to know how a mere human got his hands on it. Our boy casually replies that it only takes one click in the shop. Atlas barks at him to hand it over, but Hajin completely refuses, not wanting to get scammed. He demands answers first, and when the Titan complains that was not the deal, our boy threatens to take a massive bite. Cutting back to the present, Hajin explains that was how he cracked the giant. Hercules realizes this kid is definitely built different. No wonder he was able to successfully heal his mentor's leg. But that smug, shameless attitude hits way too close to home, reminding Hercules of his own youth. Sighing, he demands the intel, though our boy warns that the giant spoke in bizarre riddles he did not completely understand. He relays the message. The world will tear into 7 pieces while blue flames erupt everywhere. Instantly, Hercules breaks out in a cold sweat. This is far worse than his worst nightmares. It is just as he feared these monsters cross over from another dimension, landing in the worst possible spot. He remembers that Hajin is among the rare few who can cross worlds, and somehow, destiny threw a regular nymph right into his path as well. To him, the 3 sisters of destiny are both cruel and gorgeous. He simply cannot fathom why they would drop such an incredibly heavy burden onto the shoulders of a normal human kid. Honestly, you and I are probably wondering the exact same thing. Our boy holds out his hand, and when Hercules asks what he wants, Hajin acts like it should be completely obvious. Later, as Hercules rests atop a pile of defeated beasts, a mysterious figure suddenly materializes, asking for his honest thoughts on the boy after finally meeting him face to face. Let's dive right into this crazy story. We start with Hermes casually waving, saying he arrived just after the others left. Hercules treats him with respect, but the messenger god tells him there's no need. After all, Hermes helped him tremendously during his 12 labors. The messenger god sighs, reminding him to stop ignoring Ares, but Hercules just shrugs. That annoying guy always picks fights and disrespects him anyway. Hermes chuckles, joking that Hercules is terrible at making friends. Before asking about his feud with Atlas, Hercules instantly snaps, refusing to ever apologize to that absolute bastard. Hermes then brings up the mysterious place Atlas told the kid about. Hercules repeats the cryptic riddle of split lands and fire, convinced it perfectly matches the ancient prophecy. Lifting his staff, Hermes prepares to leave and warn the others, but Hercules bluntly tells him not to even bother. Since the kid is the center of this mess, Hermes just grins and flies off, telling him to relax because delivering crazy messages is literally his job. Now watch closely. Hercules powers up to crush these monsters. While back in the real world, Hagen aggressively yanks the blanket off a fast-asleep Lucio. She sits up groggily, begging for 5 more minutes, but he tells her to wake up. When she asks where they're going so early, he reminds her it's exam day. Confused, she admits she has no idea what a hunter exam actually is. He calls her an idiot for tagging along blindly, but she just shrugs it off as better than being bored. Meanwhile, he's already packed his registration, supplies, and his trusty wooden bat. Lucio finally emerges with wild broom hair, claiming she's completely ready to roll. Throwing on a cap, he tells her to move it. They arrive at the association surrounded by flashy elite hunters, while our boy looks like a total average nobody. But under that cheap hoodie, he's fully geared up. An announcer signals the start of the exam, calling the first challenger to face 3 fierce goblins with an axe. Now pay attention here. He easily slices a goblin in half. Our main character realizes 3 goblins is too simple, so the test must be about how you kill, not if you can. Next up is candidate 30 him. Stepping into the arena, he plans to play it cool and fly under the radar. But as his suit activates, a sharp-eyed redhead notices him. She is a dangerous recruiter from the enemy guild. Suddenly, the scene shifts elsewhere. Another recruit absolutely destroys the monsters bare-handed, earning wild cheers. However, a guy eating chips mutters that raw power alone doesn't make a true hunter. The blonde next to him agrees, guessing the real genius hasn't debuted yet. The redhead tells them to shut up, calling these fighters too weak for even a minor guild. This is Johan, the infamous killer behind the Black Dragon Guild's previous rampage. Now the savage hunter is calmly scouting rookies, wondering how her prestigious life came to this. Not long ago, her guild was the second-ranked power in the nation, and she held massive influence, proudly sporting that signature dragon tattoo on her thigh. But following the devastating 8 trigrams scandal, their reputation collapsed. Now she's forced to scout rookies, desperately hoping to find at least one gem in this garbage. Lucio cheers loudly while he stands awkwardly in the ring. Desperate to keep a low profile, he tries to act weak. But as the beasts charge, his high-tech suit's danger sense instantly kicks in, forcing him to dodge. And trust me, we're about to see him completely dominate without even trying. These monsters are nothing compared to the sirens he faced before. All right, you and I are jumping right into a moment where this mysterious redhead watches candidate 38 closely. His effortless dodging looks instantly familiar, even though he has not thrown a single punch. Finally, he throws a single, low-key punch to end this quietly. But the moment his fist connects, boom. The goblin literally crumbles into dust right before his eyes. Just like that, she realizes he is the exact target she was searching for. Moments later, he receives his official badge, having just secured the third highest score in history. Everyone hails him as a future top hunter, but Hajin honestly thinks this licensing exam was way too easy. Suddenly, Lucio runs up, hyping up his combat skills before demanding they go grab food. He drags her along for some pork, but their victory meal is suddenly interrupted. A striking woman with crimson hair and matching eyes blocks their path, introducing herself as Juhan from the famous Black Dragon Guild. Now pay attention here, because she tries recruiting him into her famous guild right away. But before she can even finish her pitch, our main character cold shoulders her completely and walks right past. Completely stunned, she tells him to wait, but he just offers a polite thanks and declines. Still, she has no intention of letting him walk away. Desperate to drag her guild back to the top, she immediately offers him 5 billion won, about $5 million plus bonuses. Hajun freezes, repeating the massive number. She smiles, absolutely convinced that this insane amount of cash is more than enough to win him over. Instead, he gives her a pitying look, asking if her guild is actually broke. Lucio even chimed in, mocking them for sounding incredibly cheap. As she chases him down, screaming that nobody will ever beat her offer, Hajin drops a massive truth bomb. Sangjun's guild already offered 20 billion won. She instantly freezes, completely dumbfounded. Leaving her utterly crushed, they finally head to a restaurant. But trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next when he spots his own face all over the television. Alright, you and I are about to watch our main character go viral just an hour after his exam. He tries to order food with Lucio, but before they can even call a waiter, a massive feast is served. It is Sangjun, smiling and praising the insanely fast service. Hajun just sighs, asking if this guy is straight up stalking him now, but Sangjun insists they just coincidentally ran into each other. Our main character cuts him off immediately. If this is a recruitment pitch, the answer is no. Sangjun tries to bring up the hunter exam, but Hajun completely shuts him down right then and there. All he wants is a quiet life, so joining some high-profile guild is out of the question. But Sangjun smiles and says he is wrong, this isn't recruitment. He wants to hire him as a divine courier. He explains a rare item needs to reach Japan in 2 days, but some dangerous women have been hijacking the cargo shipments. Now, shipping stuff is his absolute specialty, but he warns him, the pay better be good. Sangjun tells him not to worry, flashing a 2 on his fingers. Hajun assumes that means 200 million won, but Sangjun corrects him it is 2 billion won. Instantly, Hajun faceplants onto the table and vows to deliver it perfectly. While Lucio keeps eating, Sangjun says he completely trusts him. Meanwhile, in a dusty apartment, a girl on the floor asks Hermes for her orders. Yeah, this already feels super shady. Next thing we know, they are boarding a massive cargo ship. Lucio is stunned, and Hajin explains this giant vessel belongs to the Young One Guild. Honestly, this feels more like a guard mission than a simple delivery. Suddenly, 2 armed guards block his path, demanding identification. He casually flashes a black VIP card from the Young One Guild, and they instantly let him pass without another word. Heading deeper into the ship, Lucio notes it is massive, but still smaller than the Argonauts' company vessels. Hajin laughs at how proud she is of her home. They stop at a heavily locked security vault containing the sword. It stands out like a sore thumb, but once the heavy vault door slides open, he realizes why they did not bother hiding it. The blade is sealed behind thick bars, heavy chains, and advanced security. He wonders who would even be crazy enough to steal something this guarded. Lucio gasps, prompting Hajin to ask if she recognizes it. She proudly identifies it as Durandal, the legendary sword. Hajin quickly cuts her off before she starts bragging about her Olympus knowledge. Yeah, she's a special nymph. When she asks what the plan is, he says they just stay put and guard the sword. It is incredibly boring, but he cannot lose those 2 billion won. 2 billion is a lot for one gig, but if this legendary blade gets stolen, they would be paying back way more. Suddenly, a horn blares the ship is leaving. Right on cue, a mysterious gas begins flooding the secure container. Outside, the heavily armed guards do not even panic. As the fog hits them, they collapse instantly, leaving their weapons completely exposed. Now, watch closely, because a mysterious woman in a skin-tight outfit slips inside, cheerfully celebrating that Phase 1 is complete. Inside, our main character is already completely knocked out. With a sharp snap to his forehead, Lucio wakes him. He bolts upright, shocked he fell asleep, as she explains a weird smoke has knocked out the entire crew. He covers his nose, instantly realizing it is sleeping gas, and rushes to check the cargo. Thankfully, Durandal is safe. But it is weird, his high-tech suit should have easily blocked this gas. This means the intruder has to be using some supernatural power. Sliding the door open, he spots a girl praying to the gods, begging for strength to be an honest thief tonight. He immediately realizes this thief is a total weirdo. Wasting no time, he opens his system shop to purchase a countermeasure, but before he can, she makes a move. A green flash cuts through the dark, wrapping a rope tightly around her arm. She panics, realizing it is magic, binding her like a spiderweb. Hajim smirks and says he caught a little thief. He bought Rakon's rope, an overpowered binding item that only breaks under immense pressure. Now she's crying on the floor, shocked that her god's sleeping gas did not affect him at all. He lightly bonks her head, calling her a noisy thief who talks too much. She tearfully begs him to listen to why she needs the sword, but Hajin just smirks, knowing better than to trust her. She is clearly robbing the guild. She accepts the thief label, but insists she only steals what must be stolen, claiming it is all for a noble cause. Hajin bursts out laughing, so she asks if he has ever heard of Robin Hood. She claims she is just like him, taking from the greedy rich and giving to those in desperate need. You and I both know nobody is buying that. He tells her she needs professional therapy, while Lucio whispers that older humans are just weird. The thief desperately screams to be believed. She reveals Hermes himself sent her to secure these legendary artifacts before the coming dark threats arrive. Heijun pauses, while Lucio wonders if this crazy girl actually is a divine messenger. Though he thinks she looks far too clumsy to be an elite emissary, Hajun sighs and demands she explain these supposed threats she keeps talking about. Suddenly, she spits a glowing orb from her mouth. She yells that she did not want to waste this, but he's going to pay dearly for ruining her perfect heist. Thick purple smoke engulfs the room, and when it clears, she has vanished. Already swimming away in the ocean, she whines about using a super expensive astral form elixir just to escape his grasp. She vows to get revenge on that tight suit-wearing jerk. Honestly, though, her own outfit is tighter. Her name is Suyin Choi. Reaching the docks, she grumbles about losing her priceless elixir, swearing she will wipe that smug grin off his face. Suddenly, a magical holographic message asks if the mission was successful. She reports back to Hermes, revealing that she successfully swiped the Ring of Dissipation, a legendary artifact from King Arthur's lore. Curious about the delay, Hermes asks what went down. She explains that some guy completely resisted his divine sleeping gas. The god says that should be impossible, demanding to know his identity. She describes a guy in a sleek suit who bound her using a legendary rope. Hermes instantly finds this familiar, asking if a tiny blue-haired girl was with him. She confirms he is spot on. She is stunned at how the god knew. Suddenly, Ares cuts into the transmission, laughing at the crazy coincidence and telling her not to worry, because that guy is a chosen one. Relieved they are allies, she smiles. Since their paths are bound to cross again, she promises to teach this newbie some respect. Meanwhile, Hajin's bank account gets credited with 2 billion won. Despite a crazy intruder throwing their plans into absolute chaos, Durandal safely reaches Japan. Just like that, Hajin's high-paying escort gig is officially complete. With his apartment fully paid off, he decides to visit Hephaestus. It has been a while, plus he wants to ask what epic gear he can forge using his Hydra scales. Reaching the workshop, Hajin knocks, but the lights are completely dead. Lucio suggests skipping it to grab dinner instead, but right then, a voice calls out Hajin's name from behind. He spins around, jumping out of his skin. Standing there with Hephaestus is a stunning, highly dangerous woman. Hephaestus points to her, introducing her as another elite divine courier. She smiles warmly, introduces Freya, leader of the Valkyries, who taught magic to Odin himself. But our main character gets the wrong idea, assuming Hephaestus is cheating on his wife. He grabs him, asking if he is Zeus. As she yells, she is just a client. Trust me, this gets even better. All right, you and I are diving right back into the madness as this lady laughs off the affair rumors. Our boy immediately faceplants to apologize, while the dwarf stays totally chill before bringing up actual business. The dwarf wants Hajin to deliver a letter to the ruler of Helheim and investigate some weird things happening in Valhalla. He has 120 hours to do it for 500,000 points, making Lucio shake in fear. She warns him that Helheim is the Norse land of the dead, meaning this quest is basically a suicide mission. And since Hajin is loaded now, he has absolutely zero interest in risking his neck. Why die with a fat bank account when he could just retire and chill with Lucio? Hephaestus starts saying Helheim is way too extreme for him, but before the god can even finish, Hajin cuts him right off. No way, he is totally taking the job because more cash is always better. He confidently brags he will crush this mission, earning himself a massive kick in the back from Lucio for being so greedy. Before long, they are riding through the mountains near a glowing green lake. Hajin speeds across the desolate land on his bike, immediately sensing the creepy vibe. Well, it is the afterlife, after all. Lucio complains that he only took the job because he has no idea how terrifying Norse myths are. He retorts that she used to be way quieter and should probably shut up, but she snaps that this is all his fault. Apparently, riding with him drains a year of her life every single time. She explains that Valhalla is for glorious fallen warriors, while Helheim is reserved for ordinary souls and the utterly dishonored. So yeah, no wonder everyone wants to die in battle. It is either paradise or absolute torment. He reminds her that Freya has connections in Helheim, so everything should be fine, telling her to just relax. Honestly, that just makes things weirder. With 10 minutes left, they start crossing a massive, narrow bridge. Right in the middle, a strange pressure hits them, making his chest tighten up instantly. Now watch closely, because the air completely freezes as both of them lose the ability to move. Out of nowhere, a creepy voice praises the living soul trying to cross into the underworld. Out of the shadows steps a giant woman, pointing out how bizarre they smell. The nymph does not smell like death, but she claims the boy has actually died once before. Hearing this, our main character totally freezes. Cue the tragic flashback. We see him driving his motorcycle through a heavy downpour, knowing it is incredibly dangerous. But with his angry landlord threatening eviction if he does not pay rent, he has no choice. So he keeps pushing through the storm. Suddenly, a reckless driver cuts him off, forcing him to swerve hard onto the sidewalk to barely avoid a horrific crash. Just as he is about to scream at the driver, he sees his cargo scattered all over the wet pavement. Facing massive fees for the ruined packages, he stares at his phone in despair until a loud horn blares. Through the blinding rain, an oncoming truck never sees him coming. And just like that, Hagen Lee died at age 27. To make things worse, they used an embarrassing, drooling photo of him for his funeral. Back in reality, he mutters that this lady is trying to give him a heart attack. She insists he smells like rotting flesh, meaning his claim of never dying makes absolutely no sense. Lucio chimed in, guessing the scent of death clung to him during his trip to Tartarus. Just like how water nymphs smell fresh while sea nymphs smell fishy. Both Tartarus and Helheim are different realms of the dead, after all. He sniffs his jacket, smelling absolutely nothing, but remembers the Hydra once mentioned she smelled spirits on him. The giantess nods, saying that explains everything. She notes rumors of a mortal meeting Hades in the underworld. If that is him, he should easily recognize her, the legendary bridge keeper. He has no clue, though, still distracted by that terrifying flashback. Fortunately, Lucio knows exactly who they are dealing with. The only bridge keeper known as the Warrior of Wrath, the fearsome Managarmer. The giant praises her knowledge, then demands to know their business here. Lucio bluntly reveals that Freya sent them to deliver a highly important message to Hel. The moment Managarmer hears Freya's naivety, her attitude shifts, and she immediately grants them passage. You and I both know Hagen is booking it before she changes her mind. The Guardian watches them go, wondering why anyone would send a mortal and a nymph into this freezing death trap. But as they ride on, the temperature drops to an unbearable freezing point. Lucio suddenly sneezes all over him, earning a nasty glare as he curses Freya for not warning them about the brutal weather. Lucio suddenly remembers Helheim is frozen because the dead cannot feel the cold. He angrily asks why she did not mention that earlier, but she just shrugs and claims her memory is not perfect. She snaps back, asking if he remembers everything from school, and tells him to just buy gear from the point shop. Annoyed, he opens the store and finds a winter coat costing 200,000 points. It offers incredible warmth, but he still thinks the price is insane since his entire motorcycle only cost 100,000. With no other choice, he reluctantly drops 200,000 points on it. Fortunately, he still has 600,000 points left in reserve. After putting the coat on, he plans to recoup 500,000 once this job is over, but then realizes Lucio is wearing one too. He did not expect the item to protect her, figuring it must have an area of effect buff. Now that the biting cold is no longer an issue, he floors the gas, determined to finish this delivery. However, they soon get trapped in a massive blizzard that only keeps getting worse. While the magical coat keeps his body warm, the motorcycle is slowing down, and their navigation map completely dies. They pull over behind a giant boulder for cover. Lucio fears they will get buried alive if they keep going, but he tells her to stop being dramatic, claiming he only stopped to check his signal. Our boy is absolutely obsessed with completing his delivery. With 41 hours left, he checks the map and realizes they will barely make the deadline unless their path remains completely clear. Lucio asks if he is stupid enough to fall asleep in the snow, but she is actually pointing at a weird figure approaching them. He steps out to investigate as heavy, booming footsteps shake the earth. Expecting some terrifying beast, he is shocked to see a muscular guy wearing nothing but a Speedo sprinting toward them. The naked lunatic screams for them to run while a pack of massive wolves chases him. This absolute idiot brought a whole pack of monsters straight to their location. Hagen immediately floors the motorcycle to escape, trying to ask who this guy is, but the runner wheezes that he cannot talk while sprinting. What really blows Hagen away is that this Speedo-wearing lunatic is easily keeping pace with a turbocharged motorcycle. Both he and Lucio scream, demanding to know why he dragged the danger over here. The runner claims he just wanted to say hello since he has seen nothing but endless snow and wolves. That useless answer gets him nowhere, and Lucio screams at him to turn around and get eaten alone. Suddenly, Hagen spots a small cabin in the blizzard, their only hope. He crashes through the front gates on his bike and runs inside. The strange man begs him to wait, but with wolves close behind, Hagen hesitates. Letting this stranger in means risking everyone getting torn to shreds. So, he brutally slams the door right in the guy's face. Being cold-hearted, Hagen just thinks he is helping the man earn some survival points. But the man yells that he will not go down that easily. Then, the crazy bastard clears the wall in a single 30-meter leap, leaving Lucio completely speechless. Landing directly in front of Hadrian, the man smirks, declaring that no wall can ever stop a real warrior. Hadrian has to admit that highly dramatic, masculine speech actually sounds pretty awesome. The half-naked guy walks over to introduce himself, but Hadrian cuts him off, saying they do not need to do introductions. Ignoring him, he proudly announces he is Sigurd, descendant of Odin and a legendary hero. With no other option, Hadrian offers a polite greeting. Sigurd replies, but Lucio recognizes him instantly. Transforming into an excited fangirl meeting a superstar, she blurts out that he is the mythical hero, Luofnir. If this guy genuinely slayed a giant dragon, then his physical strength must be off the charts. Lucio explains his title is the Dragon Slayer, prompting Sigurd to play humble, claiming the myths are exaggerated. Hadrian can tell this guy absolutely eats up the hype, but as they head inside, he is still incredibly suspicious. Trust me, you are going to want to see who actually owns this cabin. Trust me, you and I are about to see that standing outside to get eaten by wolves is way dumber. Fortunately, after running forever, Hadrian checks his map and sees their target is super close now. So a quick break sounds pretty good right about now. Inside the cozy cabin, they sit right by the warm fire. Sigurd asks who they are and why they came here. Hadrian explains he is just delivering a package to someone very far away. Sigurd looks totally confused, saying he has never seen a courier down here in Helheim before. Then Hadrian asks him a serious question. If he is really the legendary dragon slayer, why did they even run from wolves? Lucio agrees it would have been way easier to just wipe them all out, but Sigurd reminds them of one big detail. This is Helheim. Inside, Hadrian notes the castle looks surprisingly normal for the underworld. Then Sigurd suddenly freezes when a maid named Ganglot appears. Before anyone can say a word, she already knows their business. She knows they brought Freya's letter and want an escort to the ruler of the underworld herself. Ganglot cuts him off, saying everything has already been set up. As they follow her through the grand halls, Hadrian whispers to Lucio, asking if she is a goddess or a legendary hero. Lucio says, nope, neither. She has just served hell for a really long time. Lucio praises Ganglot for her ultimate loyalty and even tries asking her for some advice. But the maid stays dead silent, which quickly starts to annoy her. What she does not know is that Ganglot is internally screaming over how cute she is. Once they reach a massive door, Ganglot tells them hell is inside. Sigurd backs away, leaving the delivery job to Hagen. As that massive door slowly creaks open, our main character gets seriously nervous. The pressure radiating from this room is completely unlike any god he has met before. This is the ruler of the dead. Walking inside, Ganglot introduces the group. Hel giggles, instantly pointing out his bizarre aura, which feels neither alive nor dead. She deduces that he must be the troublemaker currently running wild through Helheim. Now pay attention, because Hagen quickly says he only came to deliver a letter and leave, but then the document is snatched away, ending up in a tiny kid's hands. He expected a terrifying underworld ruler, not this. She immediately asks him if the contents of the letter are true, but Hagen shrugs. He has absolutely no clue since he was only hired for the delivery. When he asks why she cares so much, Lucio frantically warns him to watch his mouth around a goddess. But Hel smiles, calling him brave since most people fear her. So, she decides to answer him. Valhalla is currently under siege, and the enemies are pretending to be her forces. But since she never ordered this, someone else is pulling the strings. She reveals that only one race in existence can fight destiny itself. She repeats that legendary riddle about land splitting into 7 pieces and blue flames rising. She knows the culprit. Meanwhile, Hagen feels a bit disappointed that the Great Lord of the Dead is just a kid. Honestly, now it makes sense why Ganglot is so utterly devoted to serving her. A bit later, Hel sits back, asking if they are gone. Ganglot confirms they have been sent directly to Olympus through a portal. Hel sighs, noting that Freya has a wild sense of humor for sending a mere human into the land of the dead. But Ganglot corrects her, saying Batman is anything but ordinary. He is the famous divine courier, known across myths for accepting points as his only payment. Hel contemplates this for a second. Well, at least thanks to him, she confirmed those dark creatures actually exist. Then she orders Ganglot to pack up for a journey, leaving the maid baffled. Hel announces she is going herself. Meanwhile, Hephaestus asks Hadrian if the goddess really said that, thinking he misheard. But Hadrian insists he heard every single word. And Lucio backs him up, confirming she was right there too. Freya mentions the ancient prophecy of the 7 split lands again, admitting she never thought it would actually happen. Hadrian asks why everyone is panicking. He recalls Hercules having the exact same reaction earlier. Freya bids farewell to Hephaestus, saying she will collect her item later because this crisis is way too urgent. She wishes she never knew, but now she must warn the other gods immediately. She cannot understand how everything fell apart without anyone noticing. Perhaps someone is manipulating the truth and orchestrating everything from the dark, just like they did during Ragnarok. Suddenly, Hagen grabs her shoulder with a completely blank stare, asking if she forgot something. Hadrian panics, calling him absolutely nuts for stopping a powerful goddess. But Hagen wants his payment first. This time, Freya's smile completely vanishes. She glares at him, calling him incredibly insolent for touching her. The room turns heavy, and Hagen begins to shake, purely from her terrifying divine pressure. I know what you were thinking, but he still refuses to leave empty-handed. He starts dancing, chanting for cash. Yeah, this guy is seriously missing a few screws. Standing next to him, Lucio claims studies show this pose boosts your payout by 99%. Freya blinks, then sighs, realizing she forgot. Our boy gets 500,000 points plus a 250,000 bonus. That officially brings his balance to 1 million points. He is basically a millionaire now. Immediately, Lucio double dropkicks him in the spine, screaming that he is a money-obsessed lunatic. Freya just chuckles, calling them a complete mess, and apologizes for losing her temper. Meanwhile, Hephaestus sighs deeply, telling Hagen he cannot decide if the kid is brave or just plain stupid. Hagen asks what he did wrong. The dwarf brushes it off, saying a real man needs guts anyway. Then Hagen brings up that scary prophecy, wondering why everyone is so incredibly terrified. Even Hercules panicked. The dwarf is stunned to hear Hagen already met him. After hearing the whole tale, Hephaestus yells that he should have shared this sooner. Hagen just shrugs, saying nobody asked. Plus, he has no idea how to reach this place everyone keeps mentioning. Hephaestus ponders this, realizing why the Divine Council is suddenly being gathered. That massive meeting is called the Council of the Olympians. The last assembly was 389 years ago. Now, Hephaestus understands his summons. Hagen begs for details, but the dwarf tells him to forget everything. Just knowing this much is highly dangerous, so he needs to stop questioning things. Still incredibly curious, Hagen grumbles that he does not get why everyone keeps secrets. He pauses, simply stating this is something only gods can handle. If fate dictates, he might learn more someday. But if he wants to live, he needs to stop digging right now. Later, back in the city, Lucio tells Hagen to hurry up and open the door so she can collapse. He punches in the security code, and they step inside, happier than ever. The apartment they have been renting is officially all theirs. Looking around the empty space, Hagen smiles, feeling like it is truly his home now that the old furniture is gone. Lucio immediately claims a bedroom, but Hagen snatches the master bedroom. Angry, she demands a fair game of rock, paper, scissors. Instead, Hagen grabs her arm, rejects her offer, and heads out to shop for furniture. Suddenly, a knock echoes. He freezes in confusion. They just moved in, so who on earth knows their address? He grabs the handle, tells them to hold on, and finds Erin standing there. She is holding a massive cake. Hagen asks what she is doing here, while Lucio instantly recognizes her from their dungeon days. Then, Hagen remembers she was moving next door. It all clicks. Erin lifts the heavy cake as a gift for the divine courier. Hagen takes it, asking what kind of cake it is. She explains it is a rice cake meant for a welcome party. But Hagen immediately rejects her, saying they just got home and now is a bad time. The poor girl looks totally crushed, while a starving Lucio asks to eat it. Lucio snatches the cake and runs off, stuffing her face. She blames Hagen, whining that she was starving all day, but the second she tastes a bite, she starts gagging. Hagen asks what is wrong. Lucio groans that it tastes like chocolate, mixed with mud and toothpaste. Hagen tells her that is exactly what she gets for stealing someone else's food. But Erin calmly takes a bite, saying she loves mint chocolate. And that is where we leave it, with Hagen still wondering what she is really after. Alright, you and I are jumping into the moment where our main character realizes the guild is actually trying to hire him as a secret investigator. He asks about the cash, but Erin says only the boss can discuss details. Not wanting to face Seligman again, Hagen begs for a ballpark figure. She raises 2 fingers, 2 billion. She adds 2 more. Yep, 4 billion. His face totally flips. Fine. Where is this leader? Let's negotiate. Soon, they are sitting in Erin's car inside a parking garage. He says thanks for the ride, but Lucio starts whining. They were supposed to shop for furniture today, not start another gig. Hagen swears he is just listening to the proposal and promises they will go shopping immediately after, but she keeps complaining. For Lucio, the plan was simple: furniture first, then delicious food. That is, until Erin slides her a golden ticket. Apparently, she can feast on gourmet meals at the guild cafeteria. Lucio cheers up instantly. Hagen looks up at the massive guild headquarters. No wonder these guys are ranked #1 nationwide. Moments later, Sanjin greets him with a huge, friendly smile. The guy even apologizes for not bringing a present, but Hagen cuts him off. He wants to get straight to business because his little partner is already itching to get out of there. Sanjin laughs it off and tells him to take a seat. Hagen is already annoyed by the guy's overly friendly vibe. Then, Sanjin pulls out a document about reevaluating dungeon threat levels. Sanjin explains that dungeons are suddenly spawning weird anomalies and growing way too dangerous. Hunters are refusing to enter them now, which is turning into a massive national crisis. If no one clears them, we get a dungeon break where monsters run wild. Hagen knows the risks, but there is no way this guy expects a simple courier to handle this. But pay attention here, he flips the page and loses his mind. They want info on the Red Drake, the strongest level 7 monster around, which even top rankers cannot defeat. Hagen snaps. If this guild is so powerful, why hire a delivery boy? Sanjin clarifies they will do the heavy lifting. But they also need intel on the Lizard Man King, another massive boss. Hagen is practically shaking, accusing Sanjin of paying 4 billion just to buy his grave. But Sanjin smiles and says that 4 billion, that is just the signing bonus. If he secures the intel, he gets another 4 billion. Hagen freezes. They are doubling the cash. Immediately, he shakes hands to lock down the contract. Elsewhere, an elder with a golden staff waits by a lake until a horse-headed warrior arrives. The elder notes he is rarely late, but the orange-haired man throws down a purple worm, explaining he found several crawling deep below. These pests should not be in the Norse territories. The elder examines the creature, realizing the contamination is spreading way faster than anticipated. The plague is moving too quick. He knew the end times were near, but not like this. The horse-headed warrior prepares to leave, sent by Odin to Helheim because something is threatening Valhalla itself. The elder tells him to chill because Freya already dispatched a Greek champion who fixed it. The horseman wonders if it was Achilles or Orpheus, but it was just some ordinary guy. That just irritates him more. Who is this basic human meddling in his affairs? Another divine favorite. Meanwhile, Hagen is smiling like a total idiot because, honestly, cash is king. We cut to the gate of Chunlin. Hagen promised himself he would never return to this zone, yet here he stands. Lucio asks if he knows the place. Not quite, but he survived a month in a dungeon far worse than this. She is completely blown away, noting that no ordinary human could survive a deadlier hellhole for an entire month. He tells her she has zero clue what he has endured, but she is about to find out. Suddenly, he summons his new 2.0 bike. With each evolution, this ride gets bigger, crafted from ultra-rare metals for an elite courier. This custom build reduces 90% of incoming damage. Hephaestus infused it with some godly materials, and Hagen is absolutely thrilled with how epic it looks. His old ride served him well, but he cannot risk getting paralyzed again like that nightmare on the bridge. Riding toward the portal, he conquers his fear. Time to hunt down that lizard king. Inside the swamp, he glides across deep mud and water effortlessly. The tires grip perfectly, leaving Lucio covered in thick slime. Suddenly, he slams the brakes, shocking both of them. Right in the middle of this swamp lies a massive, wealthy-looking civilization. The files stated the lizard boss should be past this grand gate, but something feels seriously wrong. Let's pause right here because as soon as he wonders where everyone is, spear-wielding lizard guards materialize. He jinxed himself, but as they search the gate, there is no sign of him. Hagen is hiding silently, keeping Lucio tucked inside his helmet. When she points out the scary monsters, he whispers that she does not need to state the obvious. She wonders if they are just going to smash through everything as usual. But Hagen knows this is an intelligence-gathering operation, not a suicide mission. No reckless fighting today. Locate the king, collect the data, and slip out undetected. That is the plan anyway. Luckily, the patrol walks right past them. They are intelligent, but their senses are surprisingly dull. That gives him a boost of confidence. Even if things crash and burn, he can buy emergency gear from the shop. But right then, a delivery alert blares in the middle of the zone. He is completely baffled. Why now? Red alerts flash, warning him that powerful enemies are approaching. He forgot to mute his notifications at the worst possible moment. He dashes away, trying to comprehend the chaos, then abruptly halts. Lucio asks why they are stopping, and he tells her to watch. As a giant lizard thrusts a spear, Hagen checks his screen. The attacker freezes because the delivery order was placed by the Lizard King himself. The massive beast looks completely stunned, and Lucio has absolutely no idea what is happening. Hagen finds it bizarre delivering to a monster rather than a deity, but a payday is a payday. He tells the guards he is on a tight schedule, so they should lead him to their boss. They point behind him. He is about to tell them to stop pointing, but then he notices a colossal shadow looming behind him. Feeling the terrifying presence, he slowly turns. The Lizard King looks completely beaten down. He spots the crown. But this creature is totally different from the intelligence photos. The king lets out a weak hiss, flicking his tongue, which leaves Hagen entirely clueless. Fortunately, money solves everything, or in this case, buying a translator. Lucio chimes in, offering to translate. He questions if she actually speaks lizard, and she proudly nods. Lizard dialect is apparently basic. The king hisses once more, and Hagen asks for a translation. Lucio explains that a massive disaster hit their nation when a savage invader laid waste to their home. Young ones, eggs, elders, everyone was ruthlessly slaughtered. The civilization fell. Hagen immediately connects the dots. They want him to defeat this conqueror, reading the desperation in their eyes. He entered this swamp as a hunter, but now these cute lizards are staring at him with giant, tearful eyes begging for help. Even he wonders why they look so adorable. He claims he is no savior, but Lucio translates the reward. Defeat the enemy, and he gets an exclusive legendary treasure. Just like that, Hagen is sold. His greed is tingling. Lucio adds that the king wants to show him this vault downstairs. Seeing the monarch pleading on his knees, our boy stops asking questions and agrees to slay the invader. Descending into the vault, it turns out these lizards are absolutely filthy rich. But wait, a familiar thief has sneaked inside, grinning smugly as she eyeballs the mountain of treasure. And trust me, you and I can already guess she is going to steal absolutely everything. All right, you and I are about to dive back in as Hagen has only 10 seconds left. He and Lucio halt right before a massive door. If it is this big, you know something crazy is hidden inside. Pushing with his absolute last bit of strength, the king forces it open, letting a blinding golden light wash over them. Hagen stands there completely jaw-dropped. He thinks the room is totally empty at first, but nope, it is loaded with treasure, and our resident thief is hiding right inside. He estimates there is enough loot here to match an heir's personal vault. Lucio explains the king looted all of this from failed human invaders. The Lizard King looks incredibly smug, but Hagen is not impressed at all. He is just about to say something when a weird sight catches his eye, a girl with gold coins stacked right up her arm. As the coins clink onto the stone floor, she casually waves. Hey there, little buddy. The moment she reveals herself, those adorable dinosaur vibes completely vanish, and the lizards go absolutely ballistic. Lucio translates that they are shouting to capture the intruder. Too late, though this clumsy thief is already pinned. Hagen demands to know how she even sneaked back in here. Meanwhile, Suin is just as baffled. Her quest was simply to steal the treasure, but somehow this guy crossed her path again. She looks at him and asks, "Hey Junior, do you not remember me?" She claims they both take quests from Hermes, so he needs to clear things up with the locals. Lucio quickly chimes in, saying the king wants to know if Hagen is actually her partner in crime. Terrified of losing his sweet reward, our guy is practically in tears. He panics, swearing he went to an all-boys school and never had a female classmate. Afraid she will ruin his payday, he stomps over and tells her to stop playing games. "You dummy, I do not work for Hermes." This leaves her totally confused. If he is doing Hermes' quests, why was he kept in the dark? So she tells him that if he helps her break out, she will do whatever he wants. And yes, our boy is immediately scheming on how to turn this promise into pure cash. He weighs his options while Lucio warns him not to trust a thief. Now pay attention here, because this is where he makes a crazy move. He agrees, flashing a devilish grin, and demands she swear on the river of Styx. She panics, calling him completely insane for even suggesting that. But he coldly warns her that if she refuses, he will let the giant lizards slit her throat right now. Seeing the cold steel pressed against her neck, she yields and swears on the river of Styx. If he helps Sujin Choi escape, she will do whatever he demands. He smirks, telling Lucio to translate the deal to the king. Soon enough, she is freed, completely relieved she is not getting executed. She happily thanks her junior for the rescue, but he instantly cuts her off. First, he is not her junior. Second, she better prepare for his demand. Naturally, her mind goes straight to a very questionable, dirty place. All right, you and I are about to watch our guy reject that offer. Instead, the system interface flashes with a brand new quest. Crush the Crimson Invader and save this entire lizard kingdom. The catch: a 3-hour time limit. The reward is the royal treasury. 3 hours is absolute madness. His last quest gave him 50, and even that was close. He yells at Lucio to move immediately. Without wasting a single second, he dashes off, ignoring Junior's desperate cries to wait up. Left standing by the ruler, she complains about how incredibly rude he is for running off mid-sentence. Oddly enough, the sovereign remains conscious. Meanwhile, Hagen is already tearing down the road on his motorcycle. The destination is 30 kilometers out. He has literally zero time to spare. But the journey is the easy part. Survival is the real test. Lucio screams at him to decelerate, but he refuses. Suddenly, Sujin blocks his path, teasing that he looks like he's in deep trouble. Startled half to death, he slams on the brakes and skids to a halt right beside her. Completely irritated, he demands to know why she followed him when he ordered her to stay. The mischievous girl just winks, claiming she could not abandon her savior in his time of need. He snaps back, telling her to stay back, because he is definitely still collecting that favor. Now pay attention here, because she has information that completely changes the game. She smirks, revealing she knows his target, the Red Drake. He freezes, remembering the warnings. This legendary beast is pure nightmare fuel, and he was only supposed to gather intel. It all makes sense now. He begins to suspect that Selujin knew about the connection between the Drake and the Monarch from the start, since he was sent to investigate both of them. One look at Selujin reveals she has zero interest in risking her neck against a god-tier monster. But to secure her share of the kingdom's treasure, she needs his trust. She offers a compromise she knows a shortcut to the beast. Hagen mocks her, pointing out that theft is her only real talent. She just grins and tells him he should never make assumptions about a thief's hidden tricks. She is happy to guide him, but fighting is completely out of the question. After all, a master thief always has an escape plan. Shortly after, their bike is tearing through a deep crimson forest. This time, he has got a passenger holding on tight. Before long, they spot a massive, glowing crimson reptile. She points it out the Red Drake. Seeing its sheer scale, the warnings finally make perfect sense. Lucio asks if they can actually survive this. He simply says they will find out, shifts into combat mode, and seals his helmet. He launches himself high into the air, preparing a massive strike. You and I both know level 7 bosses are terrifying, but Hagen just slams his fist directly into its skull. Honestly, it looks like a clean, one-hit knockout. But no, the beast rises, roaring in fury. Hagen just grins. It is time to truly throw hands. He rains down another devastating strike from above, unleashing a massive shockwave across the crater floor. Down below, Sujin watches in complete disbelief. How is he pulling this off? She was chosen by Hermes himself and survived things normal hunters could never dream of, yet this makes absolutely zero sense. He is throwing strikes like Kidley. The red drake stumbles, crashing backward. This absolute madman moves exactly like Master Li, completely overwhelming a beast the Hunter Association ranked near level 7. This creature is literally ranked in the top 10 of all dungeon monsters discovered worldwide. She knows he also has the blessing of Hermes, but that cannot explain this cheat code level of strength. The elite hunters usually boast 15 years of combat experience under legendary deities. Yet she is positive Hagen awakened less than a year ago. How is he already outclassing veterans who trained for decades? Furthermore, the beast's movements are incredibly strange. Then, the truth hits her. The drake is desperately searching for its attacker, but he is striking from above, completely concealed by his helmet's stealth tech. Suddenly, she realizes he is using a cannon. The drake swings a massive claw, smashing the ground in vain. And that is where we leave it. You and I know he is totally untouchable. Alright, let's dive into this fight. Hagen is mid-air, laughing because this giant lizard is just swinging blindly. It has no clue where he is, and honestly, monsters only exist to drop loot and get punched. The entire ground explodes under his fists. Seriously, he beats this thing to a pulp. Or at least he tries to, after raining down countless punches. Hagen admits he lost count, yet this oversized lizard is still breathing. So yeah, this raid boss is no joke. Worse yet, his gear buff is about to expire. Now pay attention here, his helm keeps him invisible, but without that stat boost, his damage drops. So he goes all in, summoning his strongest beast to end this, leaping straight at the giant lizard with an epic battle cry. The beast senses danger. At first, it looks like a lucky dodge, but no, this thing actually saw him coming. But how is that possible when he is still totally invisible? Then, it clicks. The blast from his own swing momentarily broke his stealth, letting the red drake land a devastating counterblow. It looks like a clean hit, and Sujin cannot believe he did not dodge. Everything was going great, so why tank that massive blow? Lucio calls Sujin a foolish human, warning her that stepping in now will only get in his way. You and I both know she has to watch from the sidelines now, while Lucio wonders about this mysterious nymph hiding in the brush. Even so, he trusts Hagen. The guy has survived worse nightmares. He always finds a way, which is why the gods back him. No way Hagen loses to this beast. Sujin scoffs he took a direct hit. Nobody survives that. But wait, look closely. Is he climbing? Trust me, you do not want to miss what is next. Let's dive right back into the action where our guy is clinging to a massive boss. She is totally baffled by his moves, especially with Lucio cheering him on. Plus, his buff has only 57 seconds left. As he climbs, he spots a glowing star-shaped crystal right under its neck. Lucio panics instantly, shouting that it is the legendary reverse scale. Sensing it is a weak spot, he quickly opens up the system shop to buy a devastating weapon. When he asks if this red drake is an actual dragon, Lucio explains it is likely a rare wyvern. He makes his purchase immediately. Close enough to a dragon is plenty for him. Just like that, his points drop from 1.3 million down to 1 million. That sword cost him a fortune, but he bought the legendary dragon Bane. Yet here he is, still clinging to the chest like a fool. Sujin is completely stunned by where he pulled that weapon from. But our main character knows this blade can finish the job if he strikes the weak point. But as he lunges, the beast's eyes glow as raging fire erupts over its body. This is definitely bad news. He has no idea why this creature is suddenly breathing fire. The intense blast blows him away, making him wonder if this is its ultimate move before he crashes hard into the dirt. Getting close to that scale is impossible now. Lucio warns him to stay back while Sujin screams for him to run. She says Phase 2 is too dangerous and they must team up. But he rejects her. Since she cannot hide her presence, she should keep her distance. But she just smirks, clearly holding another trump card. She tells him to sit back and watch what she is about to do. She hurls a rare potion called Demeter's Tear, a powerful freezing mixture from the Earth Goddess. It freezes everything instantly, locking the massive Drake King inside a solid block of ice. The beast is now a giant popsicle, giving him the perfect opening. He yells, asking why she did not use that earlier. She smugly replies she was saving it for Phase 2, and they start bickering. Lucio stops their arguing, telling them to strike before it thaws. But they are too late. The beast breaks free, leaving Sujin shocked that anything could shatter Demeter's prison so quickly. Worse yet, the flames erupt again, and our main character has only 20 seconds left on his suit. Sujin declares she has one final move to create an opening for him. Now pay attention, because with his suit shutting down, he must charge. She throws her final plant-based potion, which melts instantly. He leaps directly at the scale, unleashing a massive, devastating purple slash. It strikes the level 7 boss directly in its weak point, completely severing its head. He did not just break the scale, he actually killed the legendary Red Drake. Back at the guild, Do-yoon reports that the research on the nearby dungeons is complete. The leader thanks him and suggests some rest. But Do-yoon asks about a crazy rumor he heard in the elevator. Did the Hunter Association really dump a massive time bomb on them? The leader sighs, confirming the Lizard Man dungeon is a total nightmare they still do not know how to handle. But then he drops a massive bombshell. Hagen cleared it 2 days ago. He initially thought it was just an investigation report, but Hagen actually went ahead and killed the Red Drake. It was completely unplanned. The guild leader thought it was a joke, but his scouts confirmed the truth. He never expected the kid to pull off something this insane, and now he has no clue how to explain it to the association. Everyone is relieved that a city-destroying monster is dead, but this sudden victory actually brings a brand new set of problems. Hagen's contract keeps him anonymous, but someone must take credit for defeating a level 7 beast, which will attract massive attention. Do-yoon is amazed, calling the delivery guy an absolute beast himself. At this rate, he could surpass elite hunters. You and I both know his power is insane, so when the leader suggests promoting him to A rank, Do-yoon immediately panics and suggests keeping it quiet. With the Red Drake dead, the leader wonders what happened to the Lizard King. Meanwhile, back at the castle, a highly emotional Yoshi runs in, ready to praise their incredible savior. Lucio explains that they are offering their deepest thanks, but he tells her to skip translating the obvious. He politely shakes the king's hand, stating he only did his duty. There is no need for bowing. Sadly, the king has no clue what the boy actually wants. Looking nervous, the king presents a massive treasure chest, and when they open it, both are instantly amazed. Inside sits a tiny bag. As the king asks if he likes it, our guy just stares, ready to complain about risking his life for a small pouch, but Lucio holds him back. This is no ordinary bag. When he asks about it, she explains it is a legendary inventory bag that holds unlimited items. The next day, the entire village gathers to bid them farewell. Early that morning, the guild leader calls him with shocking news. The innocent city gate has completely vanished, likely existing only as a quick escape route for the lizard men. Since their kingdom is safe, the portal closed by itself. This makes him realize there might actually be ways to close gates without having to slaughter every single monster inside. Perhaps humans and monsters do not always have to fight, or maybe that is just wishful thinking. Interrupting his thoughts, she congratulates him, saying his new item will be incredibly useful. He agrees, then asks if she is fine with walking away empty-handed after wasting rare potions. She claims she never does a job without profit, and he spots her hiding something. That little thief. He asks what she took, but she just ignores him and walks away, thanking him for the good times and mentioning she got exactly what she came for. Just like that, she disappears. He sighs, realizing a thief is always a thief, but that is not his problem. It is finally time to go home, but first, he must collect his payment. Time for 8 billion won. The company plans to study the beast's corpse and split the massive profits with him. He completely forgot that high-level monster bodies are worth a fortune. He is so used to delivering food that he forgot the real jackpot of dungeon diving. From now on, he will harvest everything. Lucio asks why he is smiling, then smells chicken. He thought she was not hungry, but now she is desperate to eat. He offers her a soda, but she ignores it, burning her tongue. He wonders if she starved in her past life. Munching on yesterday's chicken, he notes that good food is still amazing a day later. He used to eat cheap convenience store food that gave him heartburn, but now he drops 30 bucks easily. Wealth is definitely amazing. Lucio even offers to share a bone with him. Right then, a notification chimes on his phone, signaling a brand new delivery request has arrived. The moment she sees it, she starts stuffing chicken into her face, knowing another chaotic trip is starting. But he is in no rush today. Breakfast comes first, then work. With 10 billion in the bank, he can take it easy. Meanwhile, the Greek lands are in total chaos. The city burns, bodies cover the streets, and soldiers scream to hold the line. They charge into the smoke toward a beast with glowing golden eyes. Back inside, soldiers report to the king that even their ultimate efforts cannot scratch the monster's absolute strength. The king desperately demands to know where the hero is, but the news is terrible. He is 3 days away. The king gasps that the palace will fall by then, right before the room violently shakes. A massive blast shatters the fortress wall, and the legendary Minotaur appears before the terrified king, who desperately begs Poseidon to save them from this absolute nightmare. Back at the house of Hephaestus, the boy wonders where the god is, and Lucio assumes they arrived late. He blames her for demanding to air-fry chicken thighs before leaving, then realizes his phone is ringing off the hook. Just then, Hephaestus walks up looking furious. As our boy awkwardly asks if they need a delivery, you and I are definitely going to want to see what happens next. All right, you and I are jumping right into a mess. Our main character warns him this is urgent and dangerous, so they head inside to talk. Once seated, the dwarf admits things are so bad, he does not even know where to start. Our main character tells him to just spit it out. He is seriously sweating now. Since he almost never hesitates like this, you know whatever is coming next is absolutely lethal. Hephaestus mentions his talk with Freya, bringing up the old legend about the universe being split into 7 dimensions. The dwarf hoped the Olympus gods could contain the threat, but things have spiraled completely out of control. The invaders have breached areas even divine beings cannot enter. And at the Great Olympian Council, they learned the brutal truth. These monsters are not just attacking divine dimensions, they are crossing into the mortal world, too. This massive disaster is spreading everywhere from the highest heavens, straight down to the depths of the underworld. The worst part? Divine laws stop the gods from stepping in to save humanity. The only silver lining is that these beasts cannot move around completely freely just yet. Right now, they are just planting seeds and waiting to see what sprouts, but our boy has to stop him right there. He is totally lost. What seeds? What gods? What does any of this mean? His friend asks if he is actually clueless, but as our boy goes to answer, the audio completely glitters out. He asks him to repeat that, but Lucio says she only heard weird static, too. Hephaestus realizes divine laws are literally blocking him from speaking. Ages ago, the gods sealed this ancient evil away, making even its name forbidden. He tells the boy not to stress about it, though. He will learn soon enough. But pay attention here, because today's job is directly connected to this mystery. A vital tribute from someone named Cretin is officially overdue. Thankfully, his father is too busy with the council to notice. If Poseidon found out, he would absolutely lose his mind. The boy needs to investigate before that happens, and yes, the pay is massive. Our main character sums it up easily. Cargo is missing, and they want to hide it from Poseidon. But if that is all, why is everyone acting like the world is ending? Lucio points out that this is King Midas we are talking about. To him, delay is a crime. He once threw his entire kingdom into absolute chaos just by defying Poseidon and refusing to sacrifice a white bull. That act of defiance spawned the legendary labyrinth and the terrifying Minotaur. He still does not see how a late delivery connects to a monster, but he sets off to find out. Well, almost. His water-walking spell starts blinking out, forcing him onto a tiny patch of land before he drowns. Lucio yells at him to be careful, but he had no clue the journey was this long. He checks the system shop for a boat, but the prices are downright insulting. Theseus's boat costs 30 million, the Argonaut's ship is 50 million, and Noah's Ark is a cool 100 million. No way. Lucio asks what they are doing next, and he suggests scavenging the island. Maybe they will get lucky. He pulls out his infinite bag, completely glad he packed it for a rainy day. He stuffed this bag with basically everything, except an actual boat, of course. Resorting to binoculars to scout ahead, he spots a distant temple with dark smoke rising into the sky. Maybe it is a pit stop on the way to Cretan Island. But before he can plan, an armed guard appears out of nowhere, demanding their business. Suddenly, a whole squad surrounds them, weapons drawn. Our boy tells them to chill out since he only needs a ride to Cretan Island. A soldier barks in anger, asking if he realizes where he is standing, but a hand on his shoulder stops him. A mysterious man steps forward, wanting to hear him out. The main character thinks the newcomer looks incredibly shady, until it hits him. This is the legendary Theseus. Now, you and I both know who this is. And Lucio quickly chimes in. Theseus is the legendary hero who conquered the labyrinth, slew the Minotaur, and went on massive god-tier adventures as the king of Athens. Theseus smirks, saying that unique outfit gives him away. He must be the famous divine delivery man. Watching the boy flinch, he knows he hit the nail on the head. He heard about him from Jason of the Argo Company. The boy remembers that captain, the one who hired him for the sirens. Still, clueless about his growing reputation, he asks what rumors are spreading. Theseus laughs, saying everyone knows him. He raided the sirens, slaughtered the Hydra, cured Chiron, and even hand-delivered a package straight to Helheim in the Norse world. He is becoming a genuine celebrity across the divine worlds, and our boy cannot help but feel a bit proud. Lucio eagerly asks what they say about her, but Theseus only mentions some random assistant. That completely destroys her ego. While she goes through an existential crisis, Theseus hands over a document to help him travel to Cretan Island. The boy opens it and gasps. It is the legendary map, but Lucio spots a warning that the threat has returned. Confused, the boy asks if Theseus did not kill the Minotaur ages ago. Theseus admits he only sealed it inside the maze. The real issue is he has zero clue how the seal shattered. Tomorrow morning, he is sailing to Cretan to finish the job forever. Then, he asks if our delivery boy wants to tag along. Our boy hesitates because he was not planning on a boss fight today, but eventually agrees. Things never go to plan anyway. Meanwhile, the king is caught in the Minotaur's massive grip, and the beast is absolutely furious. Bright and early, the boy tries waking Lucio up, but she keeps begging for 5 more minutes. He tells her to snap out of it because their ship is leaving and there is no time to waste. Lucio whines about him being too harsh. He looks out the window, hoping Theseus gathered a decent crew. Yesterday, the hero told him to get some rest while he went to recruit as many strong allies as possible. That was when our boy asked how he beat the Minotaur the first time. Theseus confessed he had major help from Princess Ariadne of Cretan. The Minotaur is a cursed nightmare that ruined King Midas and his entire bloodline, all for insulting a god. The weird thing is, that beast was supposed to be sealed in the dark maze forever. So, how did it return strong enough to demolish Cretan a second time? Theseus is desperate for answers. They must strike quickly before all of Cretan falls, and this time, he is ending the beast permanently. Our boy wonders why they need a whole army instead of just launching a surprise attack. Theseus admits he felt the same way until Hercules warned him about something, but he keeps the details a total secret. He starts worrying that this warning connects directly to what Hephaestus said back at the forge. Slaying beasts was bad enough, but he could not shake the feeling that he was getting dragged into a war way beyond his pay grade. Lucio cheers that she is ready to go, making Hagen realize she has absolutely no clue how dangerous this is. Down at the docks, soldiers load heavy crates as our boy spots Theseus. The hero cracks a joke, saying he expected to wake him up since Lucio apparently told everyone Hagen is super lazy and sleeps all day. He laughs it off and tells them to board so they can meet the rest of the crew. Stepping on, our boy is stunned by the scale of the ship. It looks like a vessel straight out of an epic anime. Theseus proudly explains it belonged to a legendary hero. Suddenly, our boy hears a high-pitched voice and asks Lucio what she just said, but she swears she did not open her mouth. He is totally baffled. Just then, a voice calls out mocking the country nymph, and our boy spins around to see what looks exactly like Lucio 2.0. This guy is basically a mini, male version of Lucio, and she immediately recognizes him, calling him Luvor. She squeals in excitement, thrilled to see him. She never expected him to be working with Theseus, but Luvor aggressively pushes her face away, telling her to back off. They are definitely not friends. This is only the second male nymph our boy has ever met, and now he realizes Lucio was actually telling the truth about being tall. Theseus barks at Luvor to quit stalling and show their guests to their rooms. Our boy apologizes, joking that he has a troublesome nymph too, and that is where we leave it, trust me. You're going to want to see what happens next. All right, you and I are diving straight back in. Theseus orders everyone to move out, while our boy asks poor Luvor to show them their rooms, though the guy is still reeling from Lucio's harsh reality check. Once inside the ship, their quarters are surprisingly cozy. Luvor genuinely thanks our boy for keeping quiet about that back alley brawl, and he just shrugs and tells him not to sweat it. After all, any friend of Lucio's is a friend of his. But of course, the bickering starts up again immediately. Sighing, Luvor quietly excuses himself, looking pretty miserable. Our main lead wonders if Theseus is mistreating him. Lucio points out that in this world, nymphs are just servants. Theseus isn't being exceptionally cruel, it's our boy who treats everyone like equals. Hagen notes that in ancient times this kind of system was just standard. To a modern guy, though, absolutely sickening. Soon, the sails catch the wind, and Theseus mutters that he never expected to face that dreadful labyrinth again. The moment they disembark at the port, our boy's jaw drops. The entire city is completely flattened, reduced to pure rubble, and the bodies left behind are terrifying proof of a massacre. Now pay attention to this scene. Theseus blames the Minotaur and orders a search, but then Luvor spots one legendary temple still standing in the ruins. The Temple of Poseidon. Since this catastrophe is supposedly divine wrath, even a monstrous beast wouldn't dare defile the sacred grounds of the sea god. They race toward the temple gates, but a horrific trail of blood leads directly inside. Theseus kicks the doors open, bracing to fight the Minotaur, but finds a desperate crowd of survivors hiding in the shadows. The refugees burst into tears at the sight of Theseus, and he's deeply relieved to see them alive. As they're quickly ushered back to safety, our hero finally feels a glimmer of hope. Suddenly, an elder approaches with some chilling news. The Minotaur has captured King Minos himself. When our boy asks where the beast went, well, there's only one place: the deepest depths of the labyrinth. And trust me, you and I know they're running out of time.